monetization started ruining their games, and they started making so much money that then it became their crutch of their games and the downfall of their studio. I also think, part and part with this, I think Fortnite was the worst thing to happen to gaming.
Ooh.
I thought episode 1 was a good return, and like
Yeah.
they already seemingly are addressing some of the character issues. Fun fact, did you pick up on the fact that he's the only elf with a beard?
Yes. I didn't realise I did, but now that you said it, yes. I thought there was something off about him. I was like, he doesn't look very elfly.
I am actually now on Team Blue Wizard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hope that it is Team Blue Wizard. Monologue moment between him and Vision is fucking incredible. I love it. I'm more like, how the fuck is Ultron back?
Hello and welcome to episode 129 of Cutscene Combos. We've got a busy episode for you this week. We have got a character profile on the one and only X23. We have got the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power Season 2. We've got our preview for the up-and-coming Penguin show. We have got some diabolically media hot takes. They are spicy. They are so spicy they should be on Hot Ones. And as always, we've got the Nerd News Network, but for all that good stuff. Horizontal, how's your week been?
My week's been pretty good. Been still going to the gym. Starting to actually notice small improvements on my cardio, which is good.
Awesome.
At least I know it's working.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing with staying consistent at the gym, isn't it? Once you can see it's doing something, the human brain is so much better at sticking with it.
I'm like, oh, I'm not as tired after this first 15 minutes row. I can now increase the difficulty. That's the next thing. But
min-maxing.
Yeah. And eventually, like, I'm still working out when I want to start adding in weights and stuff again. Maybe like a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I think I'll really get the bug again. Trying to improve my maxes on that and stuff.
Yeah.
And then,
sense.
Other than that, I went and got myself into Deadlock, sold my soul, and then got everyone else into an invite for Deadlock. Because as soon as you're in, you can invite as many friends as you want. It seems like there's just a daily limit.
A daily limit, isn't there?
Yeah.
I've seen some people in like TikTok comments like respond to this comment if you want Deadlock and access, and I'm like, that just seems like a really good way to accidentally get scammed.
Oh yeah. Also, like, you've got to be careful because if, say, a ban, like an account that has a Valve ban on it from something else, and they get on the playtest, it's known in like the TOS or something Valve, like you're not allowed to play playtest if you've got a VAC ban.
Oh really?
Yeah, like you're not meant to be, like, they obviously won't invite you to any, but if a player invites you, the problem is then if you invite someone that is banned and it's found out, you also get punished. So you play a dangerous game inviting random people.
I mean, imagine not having access to this game at this point when the game's peaking at 100,000 concurrent players. If you want to play this game and you don't have access, I'm actually surprised at this point.
Oh, well, I mean, I've been on the Reddit since playing, and there's a mega thread on there for people asking for access or offering to send. And in that, it's like at the top, it's like, we do not have any control of this. Do this at your own risk. If you invite a banned player, you will be punished. Your only option then is, like, if you did it unknowingly, is you've got to appeal through the like ticket system, which everyone knows. Then Steam's ticket system is.
But also, Steam can just go. It's supposed to be a friend invite. You invited a randomer.
Yeah.
Did you see what one guy posted to the interwebs about getting Deadlock access?
No.
He emailed Gabe Noel himself, and he got a response with a code.
That's great. Respect the hustle.
Love that so much. Yeah. Oh. Imagine just shooting your shot, sending him an email. The email was quite nice. It was like, I'm a big fan of all the games you guys have done. I'm really excited for Deadlock. Is there any way I can get an invite? And then Gabe responds, he's like, yeah, here you go.
I mean,
Really cool.
this is like the perfect unintentionally they've done the perfect marketing for what every game studio wants for like a playtest, which is it was a closed playtest and set people had invites and you weren't allowed to talk about it as an NDA. But then shit leaked as it does on the internet. It's like when you start increasing to like I think they were getting to like 30k concurrent players. At some point, someone's going to leak stuff about, oh, I'm getting to try this new game from Valve and it's a lot of fun. To which we then got to the point where they're like, okay, we can't, this is already leaked and everyone knows about it. We're just going to lift the NDA. And it gives me like the back with Riot when Valorant was dropping the beta and it was everyone was trying to watch streams to get a key because they wanted to try it. And it was this like like everyone was trying to get access.
Yeah.
Well,
For
now
sure.
you've got like the best system, which is you have to be invited. So the people you're only going to invite people that want to play the game, which then means you've got a pretty dedicated, like as you say now, peaking at about 100k of concurrent players. The way they've set it up is a set playtime, so you've got like 100k people waiting for 2 p.m. every day to be like, I can start playing. It's a lot of fun. I know you're in that realm of never played a MOBA, so it's overwhelming.
When I will call them less shit games because I don't believe I've played a good game yet. It's so fun and rewarding. But yeah, when you get stuck in the blender of a game style that you've never played before,
Yeah,
especially because it's not like a brand new genre of game. It's not like no one's played this kind of
no,
game before.
yeah. So
And there's not many people who've decided this is going to be their first MOBA, it seems.
no, and for like people that maybe have heard of it or don't know, it's a MOBA crossed with like a shooter, hero shooter. Um, I would say it is 75% MOBA and 25% shooter. Not that I think a lot of the players quite grasp that.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the players haven't played as much of a MOBA and are not quite familiar. But there's a lot of things they are doing very similar to Dota 2 on the MOBA side of things. And then it feels like they've taken a lot of inspo from Team Fortress 2 for their character designs and abilities in that sense.
The character designs are very, very cool.
Yeah. Two of their like most loved games from Valve. And I think the funny thing is I was saying to my mates is once again Valve proving that they won't do a third in a series. Like they everyone knows they never made Half-Life 3, they never made Portal 3. Now they are not making Dota 3 and they're not making Team Fortress 3. They've just decided we're going to put them together and start a new game.
I don't think I knew that Dota was Valve.
Oh, did you not?
No, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
That makes even more sense as to why they've done such a good job.
Yeah, and it's also why like the international is like, Valve loves money.
Oh,
So
so this game is going to go triple plat on the old competitive side for
oh,
sure.
I fully see this having. I don't know if it goes straight into like dedicated franchised esports sort of thing because they know from CS and stuff like they've let a bunch of these esports run now and they know they generally haven't done franchising and that works for them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if what we are getting to play at the moment is essentially what becomes the casual game mode. Then there'll be a slightly more organized casual mode, which you get to do your picks and stuff. And then there'll be ranked with picks and bans and all your usual elo and everything. But it's a lot of fun. It's
See, I
taken
feel
a
like
real piss
ranked
to
in
one.
this game would be really good for me.
Yes and no. Ranked in MOBAs gets people very angry when things go wrong.
Yeah, but you know what I'm like? I will happily mute randos and just be that person who doesn't come, and I'll just
Well,
live with that.
yeah, it's very easy to get stuck in ranked hell in MOBAs.
Very
Because
easy to get
those
stuck in
games
ranked
are,
hell in every
well, yeah,
game.
but especially for MOBAs because they are very team like you have to play as a team, and if you get
Or
stuck,
someone who's a really good gamer at like all the genres and had like peaked at the highest rank of like Valorant and a fighting game and like Dota or League said they created a brand new account on each one with a no com rule and they wanted to see how high they could get without comming.
Mm-hmm.
Valorant, they were able to get to just below Radiant, Mortal. The fighting, no, it can't have been a fighting game. I can't remember what the other style of game it was. It was another team style game. They got a little bit lower, but still did pretty well. And then in MOBAs, they were like 2 from the top. But they also said they hadn't played League in like ages, so that could have been part of it as well. So it does definitely make an impact, but
Yeah. But
it is what it is.
It's wild that a game unreleased has been breaking the top 10 most played on Steam.
Yeah, that's impressive.
But yeah, that's been kind of my week dedicated to that. How's your week been?
Not too bad. Kind of busy. I'm not at home this weekend, really. I'm going round to my parents to dog sit.
Oh yeah.
So it's just trying to get stuff ready for that. And then after that, it's my birthday. So I'm just very aware that like in a week's time, my birthday's come and gone. I've been out of the house for 4 days, and it's back to recording this. And I'm like, where does stuff get done in between there?
Yeah,
it's busy, but we will find a way to get it through, as we always do. Let's get into the character profile.
Yes.
This week we have got X23, continuing on from our Deadpool and Wolverine supporting cast character profiles. So let's get into it. X23, aka Laura Kinney, made her debut comic appearance in NYX number 3 in December 2003. However, she is similar to Harley Quinn in the sense that she originated from a TV show before making the leap to the page, making her first true appearance X-Men Evolution Season 3 Episode 10. When a secretive organisation known only as The Facility restarted the Weapon X project, they had no success in creating a viable subject until they brought incredibly gifted geneticist Sarah Kinney into the project. Sarah Kinney continued working on their cloning attempts, but noticed a limiting factor. The donor genetic material harvested from the Wolverine was damaged, leaving the chances of simple cloning very unlikely. This is why she suggested they instead take the complete X chromosome and duplicate it so they could create a female clone instead. Her bosses shot down this proposal in case it watered down the desired powers of the Wolverine. Despite being shot down, she continued to work on this idea secretly until she had a viable embryo. Her bosses were not happy with her disobedience, but couldn't turn down such an appealing offer. So they decided to continue with the female embryo, but as a punishment, Sarah was forced to carry the child to term herself. After X23 was born, she spent her entire life being trained to be the perfect sociopathic killing machine, including being conditioned from the age of 7 to go into a mindless killing frenzy whenever she was given a specific trigger scent. On top of this deadly training, she was also emotionally and physically abused by her handler and trainer, Kimura, in an attempt to beat any humanity out of the young child to ensure she would become the perfect killing machine. By the age of 11, she had been forced through radiation therapy, in an attempt to trigger her mutation as soon as possible. When this was successful, despite nearly killing her, the surgical head Zonda Rice manually released her claws so that they could be coated in adamantium, all without anesthesia. Rice was especially violent and hateful towards X23 due to his father being killed by Wolverine during the original Weapon X trials. Once these procedures were all completed, they began selling X23's skills to the highest bidder, travelling around the world as an assassin, only further damaging X-23's humanity. Rice's vitriolic hatred towards X-23 was best displayed when during a mission he attempted to leave her for dead. Eventually, Rice decided to use X-23 to kill the facility's boss, Martin Shutter. When Sarah Kinney discovered what had happened to Shutter, she finally had enough and decided to help X-23 escape, going as far as asking X-23 to destroy the clones X-24 through to X-50 in an attempt to end the Weapon X project once and for all. Tragedy struck when Rice's final trap was a trigger sent on Sarah Kinney, causing X-23 to frenzy and kill her. It's at this point Sarah revealed to X-23 that she is in fact her mother, and she gives her the name Laura. Laura would go on to hunt down her father for the revenge of her creation and all of the other Weapon X's, before eventually joining Xavier's Institute and becoming a regular member of numerous X-Men teams, most notably X-Force. And there we have it, Laura Kinney. Very cool character.
Yeah.
And there is very much a kind of kinship in the way she came into the world and what Logan remembers when he first joins the X-Men, after obviously having his mind wiped and stuff. I think that is was designed to be almost a full circle moment where she finds him and he is instantly able to be what he needed in that situation. And she goes on to be the Wolverine at different times, taking on the mantle. Very, very cool character, and someone I know we both want to see a lot more of in the MCU going forward.
Yeah, hopefully they make use of her.
Awesome.
Cool.
Should we get into some Lord of the Rings, some fantasy world?
Let's travel over to Middle Earth.
Middle Earth.
Yes, season 2 of Rings of Power.
What I will say off the rip is the personality of the characters seems to have been released from the shackles of a script. All of the actors seem to have a little bit more freedom to be the character as they see them. It seems less like they've been directed into oblivion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say it's partly they've been given a bit more freedom with their characters, and also I think the writing has improved. And I do think that's partly probably come from they did listen to some of the complaints about season 1 and worked on improving it. Something as well before we get in, I don't know if you noticed, but Adar is a different actor.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Which is good that you didn't notice then.
Yeah, I didn't notice.
So I was like, I feel like he looks different, but I couldn't be sure. And it was only later when I was doing research that I then stumbled across the fact that, he was recast between... apparently the original actor wanted to go off and explore other characters in cinematic worlds. Whether that's... There's a deeper reason to that, who knows, but I forget the actor's name who's taken over. I think the fact that you didn't even notice shows that he did a great job at carrying on the voice and the kind of style of that character. And obviously he's got a lot of practical effect makeup on and stuff, which helps sell that they look similar.
Yeah, for sure.
But we open episode 1 with a very quick recap. I think it was 3 minutes of season 1.
Yeah, which I found very helpful to get me back into what
I'd already watched a 12-minute recap video, which was everything from season 1 covered as best as possible in the shortest amount of time. But yeah, it was good that they gave a quick recap, kind of covered everything they needed to, baseline. And then we started with the dawn of the Second Age.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of a flashback, which took me a second. Because obviously, having not like freshly seen season one, I'm
Mm,
still trying to remember what's gone on. And then, like, Sauron's already changed. And I'm like, but Halbrand hadn't died, so why is he? Can he just change what he looks like willy nilly? If that's the case, why wouldn't he be doing that all the time to fuck with people?
mm,
What's happening here? And then obviously he was like, Morgoth is dead. I was like, wait, this happened a while ago.
yeah. So for refresher, Dawn of the Second Age started right after Sauron's master had been slain and sent to the void. Um, I think in the books so this is up in I forget the name of the place now, but it's in the north of Middle Earth in the Icy Barrens. I think actually in the books this isn't where Sauron goes, but it would also somewhat make sense because Morgoth's like fortresses and stuff were in the northern mountains. So it kind of works that he would go up there. Um him being in like a fair form is as far as I'm aware and what I've looked up, is somewhat accurate to be expected because he did have that form to try and win over the elves and the men and stuff when he was like manipulating them.
Yeah.
Which then also there are things apparently in the books where not necessarily these orcs, but orcs. There was a faction of orcs that saw him in this and didn't respect him because he looked like mortal man, which kind of leads to why these ones wanted to kill him.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me. I was like, oh, but why would they hate him? He's their leader, no, but
If I
the
remember,
rings are obviously in power so that he can control their mind, so
yeah,
that makes...
because it's like he won over the most of the time when he's got the orcs, he's in like the full evil armor, like full showing that power. So there's I'm sure I read this, but it was like orcs from the east when they first met Sauron and he was in this fair form, they didn't like see him as this threat because they knew nothing of all this power that he had and stuff. So then they didn't respect him, which would kind of lean into like why they would not like him. Um, but then we got a good old Caesar salad as Adar turned the crown upside down again. A good
Yeah,
stab in the shoulders.
it's pretty cold.
Yeah, and then all the orcs just going
Yeah.
jumping in.
And it's also a really good way of explaining why all the orcs like rallied behind Adolf for all this time. They're like, you dealt with that motherfucker. Like, yeah.
Yeah, they see him as like, oh, you just killed this guy that we're meant to be scared of how powerful he is, and then also you've just said you've set us free. So yeah, we're your boys now. Um, I liked how they kind of then showed in his death of that mortal form is what created the icy landscape. I thought that was very cool. And obviously turned it into that place, which is where Galadriel went in season 1.
Yeah. Just to make sure I've understood something correctly, when he comes back as Halbrand, we kind of get caught up on what he was doing on the ship when we met him in season 1.
Yes.
Am I right in thinking and remembering correctly, the thing that he dashed off your man's neck when he was dying
Yep.
was what he's used to claim he was
Yes.
the lost king?
That's
So
what
he's realised what that was.
saw, and then was
Cool.
like, she's run with that without. If you remember in season 1, he didn't really say he was a king. She ran with that, and he never disagreed with it because he obviously knew.
I thought that's what it was, but I was like, am I remembering correctly? Okay, cool. So that was him.
Yeah.
See,
Like, and
I don't know if this is just the way the story is supposed to be told. It seems like a lot of the time Sauron lucks himself into these situations.
it's a bit of it's tough because some of it can be seen as luck, or he could be manipulating things on a grander scale.
Yeah, and this is where I'm struggling to see like the big picture. I'm like, is he just? I'm trying to work out if he's like a master improviser who's like, right, I'm a human dude. That looks like a royal sigil. I can probably do something with that. Or if he's like, I'm going to kill that man because that is a real sigil and I can manipulate people with that.
I
I'm trying to
think
work out if he's MacGyvering his way through Middle
so.
Earth.
I think well, you kind of see when he takes it. There's like a very sinister look at that old man who's like pinned and dying, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm going to take this and let you die." It's because at that point, like that old man's told him what it is, and I do think there's a certain sense of this will be useful to me in potentially manipulating people in a certain way. I think it's a lot of like he will take like where like he will take things he comes across and use them to then manipulate to get things going
Makes
his
sense.
way. But like between that, obviously we got symbiote Sauron, which I
Yeah,
was like, it's not what I ever envisioned of Sauron being without a mortal body.
but it's an
I
artistic choice.
Yeah, and I don't hate it, and I think it helps a bit more visually. Um, and it also kind of leans in with the black blood. We see his veins always popping like this black goo everywhere. It all kind of ties it into this same sort of like evil. I always kind of pictured Sauron would probably be some like spirit, more like spirit-esque form, bit
Yeah,
like a Death Eater or something.
they've definitely gone for more of like a this looks like pure evil vibe.
Yeah. There was a couple of moments where I was like, this feels a little goofy, like when he was rolling down the mountainside or sliding through the snow and doing like little flops. I'm like, I get what you're going for, but it just felt a little goofy at points.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
hate
tricky,
it. Yeah.
especially when you're adapting a book and like
And
if
well,
there's
it's
not an
something that is
insane amount
also,
of description.
I don't think in the books it's ever really described what he's like without mortal form.
So you've just got to try and
It's
envision
just
it
this, I'm
yourselves,
pretty
and whoever's in
sure,
the art room makes that decision, don't
I'm
they?
pretty sure it's just described as like his form is pure evil. And
Yeah,
it's like, well, what? Yeah, you just got to be creative with it. I don't hate it. I think it works for this. It also helps like visualize a bit better of him like regaining strength by like absorbing all these different creatures and then the human, which
yeah,
then lets him have a human form again, or enough power strength to turn himself into a human form. But yeah, that
absolutely.
whole bit with the boat, I enjoyed it because it was showing a bit more of a sinister, like evil side, and kind of helps us. Now we know it is Sauron. It makes you realize a lot of the things in season one were him manipulating things on
Yeah.
purpose, which then also makes me question the bit when the boat goes down. So he grabs the sigil, or whatever. He's in the water. He quite clearly scares off the sea dragon,
Hmm.
um, and has some control over it. Do you now think that he called that back to attack them when they were on the raft because he wanted them to end up in the water
Maybe.
and wanted them to then end up in Numenor? Like
Very
all
possible.
all
Or
that could
maybe
be
he
just
just
him manipulating things.
yeah, or it could just be a case of he knew it was there and just chose not to do anything this time.
Mm. Which
Yeah,
helps
you're
then
absolutely
sell that
right.
he's just a normal guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times now, and I think throughout this whole first episode, you see it a few times. Well, the first two, and I think we're going to see it a lot this season. Now we know it is Sauron. We get to enjoy watching him manipulate and trick people, and actually see how evil this character is.
Yeah. Like it is I'm so angry on Elrond's behalf. Because my guy is thinking with his brain. He's like, what
He
what
is
are
the
we
only
doing here?
one that is seeing through it all and is
Yeah.
actual logical. Yeah,
My
which
guy's
will
playing chess, everyone else is playing tiddlywinks.
which we get to obviously like after that flashback, we get the title card,
Yeah.
and then we're on. Galadriel and Elrond are off chasing each other to go tattle on the other to Daddy Gilgalad.
Yeah.
I feel
Also,
like
this king is dog shit. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I know we're
okay.
on the hot takes bit yet. I'm gonna
Okay.
give you a hot take. Elves are infuriatingly obnoxious and dumb. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah,
You can live for thousands of years and you're very
that's
intelligent and you understand the sciences a lot better. Cool. If I lived for as long as an elf, I would not be that up my own arse.
yeah. Well, welcome to elves.
Elrond is the only based one, and that's probably why he can get on with other species because he's the only one who has a brain cell.
The funny thing is, that's not a hot take. That is just elves. That is elves. most of
I
the
make
time.
my own fantasy world where elves aren't so fucking infuriating.
But yeah, they obviously they have their little horseback chase, which I saw someone online made a good point, which was like, if they've been chasing each other from, oh my god, I'm forgetting what the city was called, uh, Eregion, where they
Yeah.
made the rings, all the way to Linden. That's quite a long way for a horse to be running it like that. That's like a several hour ride of chasing each other. That horse probably wouldn't be alive. But obviously,
Horse
like,
drugs.
you don't have the concept in that moment. They're not trying to sell you on the idea. It's been going on for years. But I liked in this whole reveal of how Galadriel accidentally brought in Sauron and basically all coming out to Gil-galad showed. I like that he was a bit more like kick back on you fucked up sort of thing, and her
Big
getting
stuff.
called out for her actions finally, which I think is a good step forward for the people that had issues with her character in season one. That I do think if this continues throughout this season, she is going to progress into the character we expect her to be.
Yeah.
And not this like self-righteous know-it-all.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I have a note like Elrond is 100% right to not trust the rings. Like he is the one with the logical head on.
Yeah. And the thing is, he's not even being like, "Oh, you guys are dumb. Listen to me." He's just like, "Should we think about this?"
The thing is,
Like,
Elrond's 100% right, but I do also feel like Gil-galad makes a very fair point in if they don't use these rings, they do Middle Earth. They have to leave and they do Middle Earth to Sauron.
but is that not really egotistical to think you're the only people who have potentially got a chance? I'd like to point out the
Yes,
hobbits did all the hard work in the end.
I'm not disagreeing, but like later on, yes. The elves did defeat this Sauron, which makes him into the Eye or whatever. But like, it's part of like they know they have the means to help. So I think it's like if you know your forces are a good match for Sauron and could help the people of Middle Earth, but then you leave anyway, is a bit of a dick thing to do.
Remind me again though, with this tree, that's just what keeps them able to live forever on Middle Earth, correct?
Yes.
So, like,
If I remember
what's their lifespan without the tree? If they get to live
No,
like
I think
600 years without the
no.
tree,
I think it's normal like human lifespan.
still gives them like 60 years to sort Sauron out and
but they're
also
elves.
fix the tree.
They don't they like
Do you
to
know what
live
this makes me think of? And I'm going to go back to my favourite fantasy, Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Okay.
In Fantasy High, Fabian's grandfather, who's like, I don't know, I could get this done pretty quick, like, I don't know, 2-3 centuries. Is that quick? I don't know. How long do you live for? Like, is that too slow? Do you need me to do it faster? Like, that's what it's giving me right now, and that just doesn't play into the whole elves are intelligent.
Yeah. There's also like the other part which is a bit messed up with how season one did the rings, but it also, if you're following the books, like Gil-galad, they make a good point. I think it's Gil-galad says it that like, or at least Galadriel says these rings weren't made by Sauron, and like so in the books, obviously it's not Halbrand, it's Anatar, and it's more his methods are taught to Celebrimbor, Celebrimbor then makes the rings on his own for the elves. So they're not made by Sauron. So they are inherently good rings, but only when the creation of the One Ring do they then become controlled and corrupted.
So, right now, they are absolutely fine.
Yes.
Is the idea, but essentially, I'm going to put this in computer terms because my brain will work better that way. Essentially, they have a back door in them
Yes.
that just needs the One Ring to be made to exploit it.
Yeah. And I think the way they're getting around a bit of season 1 stuff of like Halbrand was there is that they're getting these dodgy visions.
Yeah.
But so elves have something called foresight, which is like a power to see the future.
Yeah.
The rings aren't inherently like give you powers, they just heighten your power. So that's why Galadriel and Gil-galad are having these visions now more, because it's heightened their foresight.
Okay, so does that mean that hobbits can go invisible?
The One Ring, I don't know.
Okay.
That might be slightly different.
That might just be the One Ring fucking
But it
about.
also kind of plays into the idea that the hobbits are a forgotten, like, unknown thing.
Yeah, they're really good at just disappearing.
Often people don't see them, so it essentially heightens that to actually make them invisible.
Yeah. But the hobbits are essentially like partially imperceivable naturally, so it just heightens that. So, I guess that makes sense.
It's like Elrond's right. These are clearly part of Sauron's plan. We shouldn't trust them. But also, they are in this weird grey area of they are good to have and they can be used for good. Only when the One Ring's made later on will they be bad.
So here's the thing. So these rings are stopping the tree from dying.
Yes, they essentially together those 3 rings give life force to this tree.
Counterpoint. What if we don't let the king, who has to make the decisions, wear the ring that might corrupt him, and you literally just choose 3 people, like Dumb and the Dumbest, who cannot provide anything to our society, and go, your job is to wear this ring and nothing else? Because then you're going to disregard their opinion regardless. It doesn't matter. If they start saying things that sound a bit too intelligent for them, you're just like, where did you come up with that idea?
I mean, at the moment, the 2 dodgy ones is Galadriel and Gil-galad having them. Because like you say, they like having the king have one of these rings is a bit. The character that we got introduced to of Círdan, the ship builder, who has the 3rd one, we'll get a bit more into him, but he's actually pretty good at being a neutral, solid, like very wise person.
Yeah, no, but like, do you want your wisest people, like your trusted advisors, to be wearing these rings when they might be corrupted?
I'm like, the older, wiser elves have probably a better strength of resisting that corruption.
No, I get that part, but would you not be better off giving them to some dickhead who you're not going to listen to? Like, your job is just to protect the tree. Wear this ring to protect the tree. We will keep making decisions about how we function as a society.
Depends how, like, what they start doing on the sly. Those rings, like, don't get me wrong, 2 of those rings get, like, Gil-galad's ring goes to Elrond. That's the ring that Elrond gets. And if I remember correctly, Círdan's ring gets given to Gandalf, and I forget what Gandalf does with it. I don't know if he actually does wear it or not.
Maybe I do just need to read the Lord of the Rings. How long does it take to read the Lord of the Rings?
I mean, then you're giving one of the most powerful rings to a wizard. Power corrupts people, makes them do. I mean, look at. Like, oh well, we'll get it.
But would someone like Gandalf and like the Blue Elves not be immune to the powers of something that's less than them?
No, because you know,
I get the One Ring's more powerful.
Yeah, but like, so all those rings, like, it's still a dangerous power for anyone to have. The wizards maybe are the least corruptible, but there's still a chance that it corrupts them.
It would still get to them. The only person who is incorruptible is your weirdo who we're meeting at some point, who's just neutral as fuck about everything. Imagine being so neutral that ultimate power can't corrupt you. What a goat.
But it's like, we have that whole thing with them talking about the rings and what they should do, and then Elrond obviously jumps off the waterfall.
Yeah, that was dope. That was cold.
Yeah,
just so we're clear.
Such a great exit. Then we get to go to. So when we get Halbrand, oh yeah, he's giving himself up as prisoner to Adar.
Yes.
Quite clearly, that whole thing of him being there is all him just manipulating Adar.
Yeah, such obvious manipulation, but like it's really well thought out.
Well, and also great for us as a viewer, because like going back to what I said at the beginning of, now we know Halbrand is Sauron. It's fun seeing his manipulation, Adar doesn't
Mhm.
know that, so we are seeing him manipulate the person that killed him, and he's unknowingly there talking to the guy that he's already murdered once.
Yeah.
Um,
I think what I struggle with this world is the magic is very magical in the sense of innate and not very like sorcery based. So
yes,
trying to understand the logic of it is really difficult.
yeah, it's
So
very
like later on
mystical.
when they're talking about, oh, he's already deceived you, so now you're impossible to not be deceived. I'm just like, wait, how? What happened to fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you, or whatever the fuck? Like, what the fuck is this all about?
Yeah, because he's found a way in. It then essentially like he has. It's like the back door thing. It's like, oh, he's gone in the like he's found a way in. Now he has a key, and you can't stop him. It's
Yeah.
Sauron's manipulation is very powerful.
I feel like that's all like. And don't get me wrong, it's clearly very effective, but I feel like innately that's all he has. He's just like, you really like. He's the
Oh
king
yeah,
of Jedi mind tricks.
he is, and then also like he has his fucking crazy magical shit like the frost stuff. Like he
Yeah.
can do crazy shit, but yeah, a lot of his stuff is he is great at manipulating. I'm trying to think. We get then we cut to our good old friend the stranger, who I have theories about in episode 2, which we'll get to.
Cool.
But he talks
He
about
has so much more personality this season, by
yeah.
the way.
So we in this episode that he's talking about his dream, if I remember. Yeah, him and Nori are
Yes.
talking about his dream, and then they start talking about Nori's like missing home, and the home he's mentioning is Valinor, which is where the wizards are from. So it's like
Yeah.
he's trying to remember that.
He's aware of it innately, but not
Yeah,
fully.
because he's lost his memory. It's like obviously it's still there. It just needs to be unlocked. Same with his name, which they're trying to do in episode 2. But yeah, we
Yeah.
get this kind of they're journeying east, which plays into some of the theories I'm reading and stuff. But yeah, he definitely has more personality in how he's speaking, and there's a bit more back and forth.
Yeah, there's a bit more like it's not quite banter, but there's a bit more kinship between him and Nori, which gives
Yes.
him just so much. Instead of just being this big bumbling buffoon that she's trying to protect, there's
Yeah.
a bit more like, oh, this is 12 million hours of walking in a straight line. Let's have a bit of a laugh when we're not
Yeah,
nearly
it
dying.
shows that they've actually grown like a rapport over this.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
Which I really, really liked. It felt a bit alien at first. I'm like, whoa, you weren't behaving like that last season. But it's really nice, actually.
Then we go back to Adar and that. And going back with the Adar, I find it hilarious that Waldrick, the old guy, is like the hype guy for Adar, who he's now worshipping. And then also he's now beating up the guy that he wanted to worship, but doesn't know that he's beating up Sauron.
Yeah. Because this is the guy we saw in season 1 who's like an old Morgoth follower, because
in the village,
men followed Morgoth before, didn't
and he's like that kid. He's the one that stole the sword and went and opened the dam. Yeah. He's like secretly obsessed with Sauron. But yeah, I found it fun. I've just found it funny that he's like the hype guy with all these orcs around. And his demise at the end is funny. But Sauron,
really funny.
I also liked that seeing that evil side of Sauron with his black speech, and he gets the warg on his side. And then all
is it really bad that I wanted to pet the pupper?
Let me pet that dog.
Can I pet that dog?
And literally me. Not a dog to pet. But yeah, I get what you mean. The wargs are like, oh, but he's just a little angry dog.
He just especially when he sat like a good boy. I'm like, oh, look at the boy.
But then like all that manipulation around Adar, where he's like, did you notice that like he doesn't directly say he will worship Adar? He's like, I will worship the one true leader of the. Like the way he words it, it's very clearly him getting around saying Adar, and he actually means himself.
This is what I'm trying to work out. Because of like choices of words like that, is he like incapable of lying? Is there like some rule where if he says something, it is therefore true, therefore he has to be really careful? Or is he just like a little drama queen who loves to like point back and go, oh, See, I was
I
careful.
I think it's partly more just for us viewers to be like, oh look, he's manipulating him. He's not
Got
quite
ya.
saying the
You
right
think
thing.
it's a storytelling device rather than a
Yeah.
plot
I
point?
think he is like very careful in what he says and how he manipulates.
Because you could read the way he talks as, oh, if he says something, he has to be like true to his
I get
word,
what you mean.
which is why he's like dancing around the word so much. Because he does it in episode 2 with Calibrand. Calibrand?
Yeah.
No. Is it
Calibrimbor.
Calibrand? Calibrimble. Fucking
Yes.
Halbrand and Calibrand. He's like dancing around the words again, and I was trying
Hmm.
to work out if that was like a character thing or if, like you said, it's just a way to show the manipulation.
I think it's this show's way of trying to help us see the manipulation a bit.
Yeah, I guess if he just straight up lied to them, it wouldn't come across as manipulation. It would come across as
Yeah.
lying to them.
It helped like
Okay, that makes sense.
that's what I kind of picked up on. And then we kind of go from there. We got to see the Grey Havens, which, if you
Yes.
recall to the end of the Lord of the Rings, that's where they get on the ships to go off to um, Valinor. Yes, Valinor.
Okay.
Where
Cool.
Bilbo goes and gets on the ship and goes with the elves. That's the location. I will say, knowing that like in the Lord of the Rings, it's this grand like built up place in that like little valley. There's not much there, and the elves have been around for a while. I was kind of like expected a bit more, if that makes sense.
Maybe when they all start dying because of like,
Maybe they need more shit. They're like, oh shit,
yeah,
we need to get off this place. Let's build this up
yeah,
more so we can have more shit. Yeah, maybe. It just, like, don't get me wrong, it looks great. Like the visuals of this show do invoke like
it
Lord of the
looks a
Rings.
lot nicer than season 1 as well. There's something about, I think it's just a lighting or an artistic choice or something, but it feels more pleasant on the eyes.
But then we got introduced to Círdan, who is a big lore character in the books. As I've mentioned, he is one of the ones that holds the original rings. Fun fact, did you pick up on the fact that he's the only elf with a beard?
Yes, I didn't realize I did, but now that you said it, yes, I thought there was something off about him. I was like, he doesn't look very elfly, and yeah,
So
that's what it is. He's got a beard. Why
through
does he
my
have a beard?
research, because I knew of Círdan,
Is
I
he
think I'm saying
part
that right.
dwarf?
No, so he is one of 2 elves to ever have a beard, because he is that old that he has been able to now grow one. He is
Oh,
like elves don't usually get to the age where they can start growing a beard,
why not? They can't die.
so they go in like life cycles, but they can die. We've seen them die in Middle Earth, or they
But like, I mean,
leave.
like they no. Sorry, misspoke. Yes, they can die, but like they don't like age to death.
No, but I think in most cases they die in some means before they ever get to this point.
Are elves just like jackass all the time? So they're like going up ladders and they just don't give a fucking tricky and they
I
fall down
think
and break their neck.
because they're they always end up fighting other really powerful beings, and that leads to just a lack of old age in elves, in elven
Yeah,
terms.
relatively
like,
speaking.
Yeah. I think what I read was like he's in his 3rd life cycle, which is why he is, and like he has been on. He was one of the first elves, like born on the shores or whatever. Like he has been in Middle Earth since the get go, and he was actually the last to leave Middle Earth on the last ship. Like he
Got
stayed
ya.
right to the bitter end. But yeah, so him having a beard which is why, like, now if thinking about it, like, yeah, he looks a bit off.
It's a very good way to show he's older.
Yeah,
It's like,
and
yeah, I mean, it's a very generic way just in storytelling to show someone's older. Give them a white beard.
and
And how do you do that with elves?
yeah, from what we've had so far of him in the show, and from what I know of the character, he is coming across great. I think he is coming across as this more older, wiser elf, has lived through a lot, has like less worry about the yearly issues going on, and is just grand picture kind of vibe.
Yeah, he's a lot more big picture.
Like the conversation between him and Elrond, I thought was really nice, where like he mentions like his father would be proud of how and he says, you realize us destroying the rings means we're dooming Middle Earth, and everyone's like, yeah, I'm okay with that, and he goes, okay, cool, that's fine with me then. Like, he's more about like, as long as you know you are doing what's right for you, like, yeah, I trust you. He's very
Yeah,
laid.
maybe that's what we need. Maybe elves, like when the elves are young, they're just kind of cool. Then when they're elven middle aged, they just become really up their own arse because
Yeah,
they're
they're
like,
like, oh, I've
I've been
lived for a
alive for
while.
two
Yes.
thousand years, and then you get like 3 or 4 thousand years, and they become these wise dudes who are like, you got to do, you
None of
got to
that
do what makes you,
matters.
you got to do what makes your soul sing, brother. Forget all that noise. You want to go whittle trees into birds? You do that, brother. I
Yeah.
don't.
I'm just going to be here carving ships.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's the problem with elves. We
I
either
have to
need to kill
say,
them. They're two
I'm
thousands of their teenage years. That's the thing.
yeah, like I think from what I know of the character, and maybe people, I presume, I would like to think that everyone feels this way, but they've done a good job with him, and actually he feels like the most elven out of all of them. Um, and then if we get Poppy catches up with Nori in that.
Yes.
She is the Sam for Nori. We thought they weren't going to do that in season one, but psych, they just waited till season two.
Is it even a Lord of the Rings story if there isn't two hobbits causing chaos with a wizard? Come on.
Yeah, I know, right? I thought it was cool that she's back, and I like that they brought the walking song back. I thought, and the fact that it actually has, it's not just a song they sing while they're going along. There is actually reason to this song that these hobbits have.
I don't know if it makes any sense in the lore. I don't know if it works at all. I don't know if people would like this. What I want is I want it at the end of the show to be revealed that Nori is a descendant of Bilbo and
Oh, it wouldn't
his
surprise
uncle.
me if there's some like family lineage tied in.
It needs to be done. I need in my head to believe that Gandalf has checked in every generation or so to
That's if
take
this
someone
is
from that
Gandalf.
lineage. It's Gandalf. To take everyone on that lineage on a little adventure, and like some of them might just get a really shit adventure, like I need to go get milk, but some
Hmm.
of them get to like destroy Sauron, and like that's the dice you roll. You just like when you're like 35 as a hobbit, they're just like Gandalf will be coming any day now to cause chaos with you. Behave wisely.
I know what you mean. We then, so they're heading to the east, in Ruin, and you see like when it's nighttime, and he's like, "Oh, I've been here in a dream," and you can see in the landscape they did the text Ruin. I forget how to say it now. I think it's Rune. Um, the interesting thing is, so looking that stuff up. Sauron actually fled to the east in the books,
Oh,
which
interesting.
maybe is why there's this like flag with an eye. Maybe that's their way of showing him his influence is there still, even though he hasn't seen like, cause what we've seen of the flashback with Halbrand, he clearly didn't go to the east at any point.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to show it in a different way, which I'm okay with. Um, we'll see. But that's kind of where things then ended. I think it finished off with Sauron leaving Adar, and you hear the Warg kill Waldrick or whatever. Um, I thought episode one was a good return, and like
Yeah.
they already seemingly are addressing some of the character issues, and like we said at the beginning, like feels like characters have a bit more freedom, maybe written a bit better to kind of show a bit more of who they should
Good
be.
one was very much, in my opinion, okay, this is what's happening right now. These are the things that people need to be doing, and go.
Mm, yeah, I
And
would agree.
and for that reason, I preferred episode two much more. As well as we got my dwarfy friends back, and I love
Yeah.
them. And Disa is my goat.
Oh yeah. We go into episode two of Khazad Doom. Um, I said it in season one. Khazad Doom looks fucking sick,
It looks so
and
cool. I want to
getting
live there.
getting to the opening shot of like the side of the mountain with the two huge fucking dwarven statues, and then you get to see how they bring in the sunlight in, and it like goes through the mirrors. Thought it was a very cool thing to show.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're back in Khazad Doom. I'm trying to think what else went on in episode. So in Khazad, we'll sticking with Khazad Doom. You obviously get Durin and Disa are in the market, or whatever, and she gets this like, "Oh shit, there's a earthquake."
Yeah.
And I said it last week in the preview. I was worried some of the stuff they were showing in the trailer was the fall of Khazad Dûm for the Balrog. I'm so glad that is not the case. And I know, like a bit later on, it's explained that these are earthquakes from Mount Doom, which I'm like, it's quite a far way away, but cool. I'm okay with that.
I like that they called it a fire mountain instead of a volcano.
Yeah,
Because they said fire mountain. I'm like, the fuck? I was like, oh, they mean volcano.
yeah.
Okay.
um, I like the fact that I'm so glad it's not the Balrog because I said it in the preview. I'd be a bit upset if they brought the Balrog
I think,
destroying.
yeah, I feel like this is going to help the Balrog make more sense, though, isn't it? Because it's going to be a case of they start to get poorer, they're struggling, so they start digging down maybe for this mithril because they're like, if we get this mithril, that's going to be worth so much, we can trade to get food and we don't have to worry. And then by
I
going after the mithril, they wake the Balrog and
I think there's going to be because we jumping just to the end where we know the dwarves get rings. They need more
Mhm.
mithril to make more rings. There's going to be some agreement there for mithril. Then it's going to be like, oh, this is now a monetary thing we can make. And I think you're right. Then that kind of sets the ball rolling.
capitalism's always the bad guy.
It's true. Um,
Even Tolkien knew.
but then episode 2 jumps to this is when what we were talking about with the rings, where Galadriel's having visions. She confides with Gil-galad, which I actually enjoyed them having a bit more straight to the point conversation,
Yeah, a
less
bit
of
more
this
candor.
dancing around each other, not wanting to actually tell the truth.
I would be a terrible elf for that exact reason. They all seem far too delicate. And I'm just like, no, we need to cut the bullshit here.
Yeah, none of them want to cut the bullshit. So I enjoyed a bit of that. And Galadriel's character feeling a bit more like, oh, like realizing this is not just I can go off and save the world on my own sort of moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we get all the rings because obviously the three of them are wearing the rings now. Then I think the episode went back to the desert, and this is where we got the rider with the flag.
Yeah, what do we know about these people? Are these just like desert scavengers, or is there something more we should be knowing about these dons?
So they obviously work for this evil wizard. It is credited in episode 2.
I just instantly, I know this isn't probably right because I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be a good guy up until a point. Is that Saruman?
So
Is that the idea?
this is
'Cause,
where last
I might be wrong here. Was Saruman not a good wizard and he just got corrupted?
correct, he was a traitor. So we said last week, I mentioned in the preview, like some people are on this theory, and I kind of was as well, that this is Gandalf and Saruman purely off visuals. Now we have a bit more context, and through me looking stuff up about some people's theories that still holding on to it could be the Blue Wizards, I've learnt more.
Okay.
I am actually now on Team Blue Wizard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hope that it is Team Blue Wizard. I will actually be a little bit disappointed if it is Gandalf and Saruman. Partly from the point you've just made. Saruman was a wizard who was a traitor to the other wizards. To be a traitor, you need to be good first.
Yeah.
You need to be on the good side to then betray. You can't be
Yeah.
already angry with each other and then still be a traitor. So the fact that these two wizards seemingly are already on opposite sides and at
But
conflict.
why would the blue wizard be evil? Were the blue wizards not both good?
So, from what I've learnt about the blue wizards, there's little written about them, but there's a couple of things Tolkien's done. One that he then amended and changed.
Retcon? Canon broken.
The theory I've seen, or the strongest theory I've seen, is that they're actually going to use both versions that Tolkien did.
Oh,
So,
okay. Get a bit mixy with it.
the first kind of like notes of Tolkien wrote about the Blue Wizards, because they came first, is that they actually failed at their purpose and ended up founding magical cults. and spreading their own magical religion. Bit like the one in the desert is doing with all the cut weird blood magic.
And we've already had cultists last season as well.
Yeah, exactly. Then he amended it and said that the Blue Wizards actually helped fight the Eastern forces, which meant less forces were able to join Sauron, which actually inadvertently helped win the war against Sauron. The theory is that I've seen, which I think I actually agree with, is they're going, because there's not a set, this is the whole truth. The writers have kind of gone with both. You're going to have like one evil wizard doing the cult shit, and the good wizard, being the stranger with Nori, trying to fight the evil forces of the East.
Makes sense.
Another thing that also leans me to it being blue wizards, if you notice the weird masked riders either had blue paint on them, blue cloths on their armor, could be a hint that it's blue wizardry. I'm just like, the whole thing about these two already seem at kind of arms, this one having like some weird cult. This doesn't feel like what Saruman would be.
Yeah.
And personally, I think if they do Gandalf and Saruman, it's a bit cheap and easy just because it's like known characters. Whereas if they actually do this as the Blue Wizards, I think it's a lot more fun and interesting to actually show some of that.
And is that maybe why they did some of the character names early on? Like when she was like trying to give him his name, because she said Radagon, didn't she?
Yeah, which is close to Radagast.
Yeah.
Apparently one of those name drops that she did try is like the fourth Hobbit that was written.
So I wonder if that was them kind of going, no, they don't have a name because the Blue Wizards were unnamed.
Possibly. I think they maybe do have some sort of a name, but they're not like known names to us as like Gandalf and Sauron. I lean more to, I think it'd be cool. Also, Gandalf never traveled to the East, so it would be kind of weird for him to be going there. Not that they've stuck to the books by law, but I think it'd just be cooler if they did Blue Wizards and had some fun in that sense than just
I get that.
taking the easy out of being, oh, here's Gandalf that you all know.
But counterpoint,
Go on.
Gandalf is cool and I would like to see him.
How do you know the Blue Wizards aren't cool?
Because they weren't played by Sirian McKellen.
Hey, that's just like, since last week I've seen the I'm just gonna...
That was like an unwinnable counterpoint, wasn't it? Not Sirian McKellen, don't care.
I would rather only have one Gandalf. Ian McKellen. But yeah, I actually now, after reading this stuff and going into it a bit more, I am much more leaning on Team Blue Wizards.
Well, I guess we'll have
Quote
to wait
me on
and
that
see.
if I'm wrong at the end.
Yeah.
Also, if they do make it Gandalf, I've already said I'd be very disappointed, so we'll see how I react at the end of the season.
So when it turns out to be Gandalf and he's like fist pumping like that was fucking awesome.
This might be the first show that I actually say I am disappointed with on this podcast.
I did enjoy Halbrand appearing at. Oh, I'm gonna fuck up the city's pronunciation.
Oh,
Aragon. Eregion. Fucking dumbass spelling. I get the books are good, but fuck me, you didn't have to make the word so complicated. Eregion. I liked how that was kind of handled as once again just kind of like this. It's almost like Sauron. I think it's a really good way to sell him. Is like his biggest, most dangerous asset is his unwavering kind of commitment to whatever he's trying to do. He's like, no, I'm going to get inside this city. And he's like just sat underneath his window like, oh, won't you come out and play?
Yeah, no, like him turning up. I also thought they played that really well because we know there's a scout going with a letter telling Cullen Brimbor that it's Halbrand is Sauron. To which, oh, a messenger's arrived. You're like, oh, okay, he's going to get the news. Then it's Halbrand and you're like, oh, fuck. This isn't good. And then, yeah, he sticks around. He's like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to make them feel sorry for me. I'm going to show that I'm injured.
But it was also really good setup because of the earlier in the episode, the Elven King, whose name I forget, says to
Gilgalad.
Galadriel, he'll be able to dupe you again now. He's done it once. You can't not be duped by him now. So the woman comes out the first time to send him on his way, and it doesn't work. And instantly at that point, you're like, eventually kill Khaled. I'm butchering all these names.
The
Someone's gonna be
Smith. You on
angry.
about the Smith?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Callum Brimbor.
Callum Brimbor, fucking dog shit names. Callum Brimbor, we just know eventually he's going to go out to tell him to go away, and then they're face to face, and we know, as it's already been established, you will be duped again at that point, and then game over. He's inside.
And also,
It's like don't invite the vampire inside your house, and you're fine.
Yeah. As soon as you invite them in, I was like, and we also, I think it's around the time when he does go to talk to him, we get shown the shot that the scouts have been killed.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, he's gonna get in because there's nothing coming to tell him otherwise.
And I mean, once he was already in, even if he did read the letter, he probably wouldn't believe it at that point.
I mean, Sauron was so smart. He manipulated the fact that he hadn't heard of Galadriel or Gal, and it's like he works his way in. And then from there, it's like, well, your foot's in the door now. You've fucked yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's that point where we're bouncing between there and Khazad-dûm again, because we get a whole. They try to do the Song of Stone,
which was a fucking awesome scene, by the way.
Yeah, so cool, and then it goes wrong and collapses.
I adore Deezer. If anything bad happens to her, this show becomes the worst show ever. Because I adore her. She must be protected at all costs.
The only thing I will say about... I think Deezer's great. There was those two other female singers. In the market, if you paid attention in the background, there was bearded female dwarves. I wish they had a full bearded female dwarf in one of the speaking ones and not all three of them were.
Yeah, they just have tiny little bit almost like bum fluff on the jaw. I'm like, not a lot at all.
Come on, commit to the thing. Come on. Show. But other than that, I thought, the song thing was sick. Fun fact I've learned about the guy that is giving the report to Durin, the King Durin, the other dwarf that's there. He apparently is also the dwarf that then works with Callum Brimbor, if I'm remembering correctly, to make Durin's door. You know, the one that speak, friend, and enter?
Yes.
So... which we also get that teased in this episode with the forge, and when Callum Brimbor makes that plate of metal as a tester, and they take it out into moonlight.
Yeah,
and it showed that is him testing this mechanics for making Durin's door or Durin's gate, whatever it's called. For the dwarves. So they're setting all that stuff up, which I think is cool. I actually have to say, I think the little family moment between Disa and King Durin was some incredible writing about the dwarves being stubborn and how that's leading to this rift. And I thought that was we loved the dwarves in season 1, and I think again they're fucking nailing it with them.
Yeah. They're like, you're both being egotist, and it's also nice to see that she's not just going after one of them going, you need she's just shouting at both of them like, just apologize.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't actually care which one of you is right. It literally makes zero difference. One of you apologize.
Yeah, your stubbornness might be seen as a strength, but your strength is then also going to be the death of everything.
Yeah.
It's like, it was so well written.
Is being right worth losing your father/son?
Yeah. And then we cut to Durin being bullied at work by the miners.
Yeah, so I get his father's disowned him, but surely that isn't public knowledge to the point where all of a sudden everyone's comfortable bullying the prince.
Well, I think it's a case of suddenly the prince is now working in the mines with us folk, and we're like, oh, so you've now got to come work down here with us. Daddy's kicked you out, so they're just kind of poking. The braver ones are poking fun. I'm sure that won't bite them in the arse down the line.
Or maybe that'll be how he shows that he's a good leader, but
maybe
showing mercy. But yeah, it was very, very fun to see. Oh, I'm very worried for Khazad-dûm though, with no sunlight to grow crops.
This is obviously, I think, like you said earlier, is why they turned to Mithril. The end of this episode is they get an invite from Cullen Brimbaugh to come to Eregion. This is also, I hope we actually get to see the dwarves of the other clans. I think it'd be real because they're going to be making the rings for the dwarves. I hope we don't just see Khazad Dûm. I'd love it if they get even if we only briefly see the kings or emissaries for those dwarven lands, but to see them as a collective, I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like we were mentioning, Halbrand gets in, does his whole manipulation shit,
Becomes an elven deity. Is that what I'm supposed to understand? He's an elven deity, essentially?
Yeah. He's disappeared and then he re-emerges as the Lord of Gifts, Anatar, which is, in the books, his elven form that he had when he was there and manipulated Celebrimbor into making and helped make the rings. Which was a big gripe people had in season 1, and I think I mentioned about season 1. Which is I'm glad that they've done this. I actually think the way they handled that transition, I think that was really fucking sick. The way that he came out as this elven god now, and
he's like, "You're worthy of seeing me now."
Yeah, he's like, us knowing the manipulation at play, and then how they just did it. I think it was actually very well done, and it helps correct some of the things from season 1 that fans had issues with. Because at least now it's Anatar doing the rest of the work. But yeah, I mean, overall, the first 2 episodes, I think it's going in a great direction. I think they are correcting a lot of the missteps in season 1, and then also just kind of everything looks better visually, and I think the writing's improved.
Yeah, my only gripe with this show, and it's actually a me issue, but I'm going to blame it on the show anyway because I get to do that. It is Lord of the Rings and this show have a problem, whereas because of the nature of the worlds being so complicated, they are a difficult watch. You've got to really focus. It can very much be a blink and you've missed something crucially important.
Yeah.
And then when they're hour 15-minute episodes, like the first episode is, it's a lot more just kind of okay. And then what happens? And it just makes it a bit like I know I've been campaigning for hour-long episodes for the last 6 months. This is one of them shows that could probably get away with 50-minute episodes.
No,
even if that means they just make an extra episode, I'm fine with that. My brain trying to do 2 of these in 2 hours after a day at work, I was like, okay. And then I just know I'm gonna miss so many fucking things, and it's doing my nutting. But really, really good start to the season.
Something I had to know, which I forgot to say. The bit when the stranger, they have that little fight at the well.
Yes.
I have wizard cast tornado, but his friends roll a nat 1 on their deck saves. Because
I'm a little bit worried about where the fuck they've gone.
They'll be fine. They're hobbits.
Hobbits are very durable.
Yeah, they're hardy. They'll be fine.
They'll be fine.
I thought that the visuals of that was sick. Once again, though, he's done a spell and can't control it, and now he's fucked things up.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, for very powerful wizards, he's a little bit shit.
I'm going to say this because hopefully you forget. I'm going to steal that well trap as a D&D idea.
Yeah, as that bell was ringing, I'm like, well, this is definitely not good. This is definitely not good.
Grab the rope, please. Hello? Poppy wasn't looking at it. I'm like, do you want to stop it ringing? Surely you know that's not a good thing when you know you're being followed.
Yeah, not ideal, is it?
But yeah, we haven't watched.
Just writing down a note: be wary of whales while playing D&D.
We haven't watched obviously episode 3 yet as we're recording this.
No.
Maybe some more
because it is a Thursday and I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
But this time we'll get to a double bill next week as well.
I'm looking forward to this season. I think it's going in the right direction. Hopefully they keep these characters and Galadriel and stuff all going in this way. And I'm hoping for Team Blue Wizard now. I'm fully on Team Blue Wizard.
Awesome. Should we talk about what we've got coming up here in a little bit with the Penguin show?
Yeah, next week, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I believe the 9th of September is when it launches. So this is the last episode we're going to have before where we can guarantee to get this out in time for it.
Yes.
So, the Penguin is set in Matt Reeves' Batman universe, following on from the events of the Batman,
Yep.
in which there is now a big crime kind of
Void.
black hole in
Yeah.
Gotham, which the Penguin intends to fill. We know we've got some of the Falcons involved,
Yep.
including Sophia Falcone, who's the daughter of Carmine, who's just come out of prison by the looks of it. It looks like it's getting a bit chaotic.
Yeah.
It's still all very hush hush and secretive as to whether Robert Pattinson's going to appear. I know a lot of people are genuinely hoping for it to be like 10 episodes of them building up the Penguin coming to power, and the last 15 minutes of the last episode is Batman comes crushing through the window to beat the shit out of Penguin in like a very kind of, this is what Batman does. Oh, you're the person who's causing trouble?
Yeah.
Get fucked. Which I think would be very different and very cool. It would also be very comic book.
Yeah. But we do know this is... Matt Reeves has said that the stuff that this show is going to do is to set up Batman 2.
Yes.
So it's like, it's whether or not Penguin's going to be the main antagonist in the Batman 2 or not, or if it's going to get dealt with in this show. That's kind of... I can see him maybe showing up at the end if they want it to be like concluded as the Penguin issue for Batman is concluded in this show, or if it's going to carry on into the film.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm excited to return to just that creative universe, the Matt Reeves verse of Batman, the visual style and everything.
That detective noir style he used for the Batman suits a crime gangster thriller.
Yeah, like a gangster-esque show.
So well. So I'm very, very excited to see what it brings to the table. Colin Firth was amazing as the Penguin.
Yeah.
Colin Firth? Colin Farrell. Firth. I always get him confused. It is Firth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I'm doubting myself.
Yeah, now I'm
doubting. There you go. We don't know everything, chat. No, it's Farrell. It's Farrell.
Oh, well,
I did correct myself correctly. It's Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell's the Irish one. Colin Firth's the English one. Right. Fucking moron. Colin Farrell was phenomenal as Penguin in the Batman. Did a really, really good job. I'm excited to see more of him. I've got a feeling we're going to have some very fun moments that give us a bit of an idea of what we could get. The jury's still out on who the main bad guy for Batman 2 is going to be. A lot of people think Penguin might be. Still a lot of debate about whether it might be a Clayface with like a unique take on Clayface, maybe similar to what we saw in the Batman cartoon recently.
Ooh, yeah.
Some people still praying for a Mr. Freeze. I'll be honest, the only villain I definitely do not want to see in the Batman 2 is Joker.
Yeah, no,
I don't think the weird insanity that I like the Joker for works as well in this universe.
I think you could, but I think it'll be a very different take on the Joker. And also, I think it's something that maybe needs to... You need more time to set up. I think this world of Gotham maybe needs to go a bit more to shit to allow like a bit of a crazy person like Joker to start getting a place there.
So one thing that I also want us to keep an ear out for is we want to keep an ear out for a hit on a carnival, because I am desperate for Dick Grayson to appear in the Batman 2, and that'd be the perfect kind of light Easter egg to just sprinkle in there about a hit going on, potentially to do with the Maroni family or something like that.
Yeah,
because that'd be a really good way to set that up, so that you can maybe have Dick Grayson be a little bit older by the time Batman 2 comes around, because it's maybe been 2 years since the TV show. But that is something I'm really keeping my ear out for, because Dick Grayson's death, Dick Grayson's parents' death, is so tied to organised crime.
Right.
That I'm like, this would be a really good way to kind of sprinkle that in.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping we get I'm intrigued to see if we get some other characters sort of teased by name drops or
Yeah.
mention of something going on that is quite clearly another character. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because we're going to be in this crime world.
Mm. I'd also be curious to know if there's any references to like, oh, this new drug's coming up and it's giving people wicked, terrifying trips or something. It's like maybe a scarecrow kind of
Ooh,
tease or something.
yeah,
I'm
that.
just trying to think like
Oh,
what,
Scarecrow
because
could be a good villain for Batman too.
yeah, like because it's so like drug based
Yeah.
and the noir theme, like there's definitely a world where without tweaking Scarecrow insanely,
Mm,
you can make that slot in quite nicely.
yeah, for sure.
What I want them to do for Batman 2, and like that doesn't have to be set up in this show, is take a villain who you don't instinctively feel works really well in this universe,
Mm,
like a Scarecrow and Mr. Freezer Clayface, and
yeah.
tweak them just enough where you're like, okay,
Well, yeah,
well
like
done.
look at the Riddler. Like the Riddler was done in a very unique way for the first film, but it worked so well. And I think
Yeah,
there is other characters where at face value you'd be like, oh no, they're too wacky or something for this sort of a world. But I think you could probably find a really creative way of doing them.
Matt Reeves, if you manage to pull off the Condiment King in this world, you have my soul. I
Imagine.
should imagine.
Oh.
Um, But yeah, I'm very, very excited for it. I'm looking forward to what we get from it. Again, looking at long episodes, I think the runtime
Mm,
for the first four has leaked at over or just around an hour for each of them.
okay, I'm down.
Um, and again, like I think that should be the target for a lot of these kind of very story-driven worlds.
Mm,
And we'll just have to see if they manage to stick the landing or not. I'm confident they will, but it has also been a while since the Batman came out, and we've
yeah.
had some changes over at DC. We know HBO have made some big changes on how they want to operate their TV side, and it would be curious to see how much that maybe has affected things in the production.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Right, let's do some hot takes.
Yes.
Now, not to steal anyone's brand, at some point I'd love to do another segment of this where we do have like chicken nuggets and hot sauce. I'm just gonna say it. I think that'd be quite funny.
I don't know a show about
Yeah, they use wings because they like bones. Fucking weirdos.
that.
But I just want to be able to throw the thing in my mouth and not worry about a bone. Is that
Ayo.
crazy? Ayo, ayo.
Pause.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I have a lot of hot takes. Horry knows this. I feel like I don't voice that many on the podcast though. I tend to
Probably
think
not.
a lot more about what I'm gonna say before coming on here. So a hot take springing to mind tends not to slip through.
I think a lot of what some people maybe would class hot takes, but I think a lot of the time they're also like very valid takes.
Oh, all of my hot takes are valid.
So, but like, I think what happens more often is we just get into heated discussions about certain companies we dislike,
Yeah.
and we go in on them, and we do less like hot takes all the time.
Yeah, we tend to go for companies rather than just members of the community because I don't think infighting helps. But
Hmm.
sometimes just reminding people where they sit is important.
I
I've
think
managed to whittle it down to 3.
okay. I have
At
like,
one point had 7.
jeez, I have 3, maybe a 4th, but like I was saying to you before we start recording, and maybe people will get this sense from me if those that do listen to podcasts regularly. I am very laid back about everything in life.
You're a very placid person.
Yeah, I'm
And I
just
mean that
chill.
in a good way. You
Oh,
don't let yourself get worked
I
up.
am just chill. So like me, I don't really have that many hot takes on things. I'm just like I feel like most of my takes are fairly valid, but maybe they are hot takes.
And I also feel like something being a hot take, you have to have a little bit of fire about it, and you just
Yeah.
don't have a lot of fire about anything.
No, I'm quite happy with everything.
Yeah,
It's the
you're like
best way to be.
Your equivalent to a hot take is that be like it'd be cool if they did it this way. And I feel like with a hot take, you've got to have a bit of anger about the fact it's not being done a certain way. But do you want to start us off with your one? And we'll go from there.
Start with. Ooh. I feel like I've voiced this somewhat before.
Oh, this is going to be cathartic for both of us. I can feel it.
So it's like somewhat of a hot take, but I don't think you can ever have too much of a certain genre ever.
Okay.
It happened. We see it a lot in films through the people going, "Oh, there's too many superhero films." I disagree. You can never have too many superhero films. And in gaming, it'll be like, "Oh, there's too like at the moment it's too many hero shooters." I think the actual issue is there's too many bad versions of these genres. There is
Got ya.
a good execution. No one cared. If we were getting end game after end game after end game, no one would have a complaint about superhero films. If every hero shooter was an absolute banger, or if every BR was like Fortnite level every time, no one would have a problem with it. It's always
You,
just
you,
poor execution, not like fatigue on a genre of something.
I
And I think
completely agree.
people just focus on, oh, there's too many of this thing. We need to stop. Can we
Mm.
stop making superhero films? It's like, no, the issue isn't too many of
And
this.
to hop on that slightly as well, if you feel like there's too much of a genre, you're not looking hard enough.
Yeah, there's plenty
Like,
of everything.
yeah, you are just genuinely not looking hard enough.
I think people that say there's too much of a genre is because there's recently been too many bad versions of like too many like games where it's just a money grab on the same genre and it's done poorly. If there was loads like it's too many bad ones in a row make you think there's too many of something.
I think that is a very on the pulse take. I'm going to go for one here that I think we've briefly touched on before, but I'm going to allow myself to get a bit more heated about it.
Okay.
The majority of people have no fucking idea what VFX are versus CGI, and they just lump it all in together with no thought process about what the fuck they're saying. So
Yes.
someone will legitimately say, "Oh, that VFX is horseshit," and what they mean is they mean the CGI is horseshit. And they're like, "Oh, why are they doing VFX when it could all be practical?" Guess what? A practical effect is still a video effect.
Yes.
VFX are just creating an illusion of something. So when like they say, "Oh, Christopher Nolan didn't use any VFX on Oppenheimer," yes, he did. There is not a film that didn't use any video effects, unless he actually dropped a fucking nuclear bomb. Guess what?
Yeah.
He used VFX. I'm sick of this idea of just, and we're seeing it in other stuff as well. We're going to keep it on media, but like we're seeing it a bit with AI as well. They just throw AI in all together, and there's a big distinction between like generative AI and what we would consider like video game style AI, where you have like the NPCs movements and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they are very different things, and people just lump it all in together when they don't understand it. I don't understand VFX and CGI that well. I will attest to that, but I know there's a fucking difference.
I fully agree, and this actually goes with one of my sort of hot takes is CGI has, in my opinion, although it's got more accessible to the average person to learn, it has led to it getting worse in media because you've lost the old heads that knew how to do VFX with practical stuff and were then able to apply that to CGI stuff, which made it look just as good. Unfortunately, a lot of that is, and this kind of goes in with your VFX and CGI thing. I think a lot of the times, like you say, bad VFX that people call out is actually just bad CGI, or it's CGI that it hasn't been VFXed in very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that has come through. Part of it is, don't get me wrong, and we've talked about this before, studios not paying artists enough, so they're overworked.
Not enough time, not enough money.
They're having to cut corners because they're not getting paid enough and don't have enough time, for sure. And that's not their fault. But I do think there is also just it's become more accessible and cheaper and easier to do that studios lean on it more, which means the amount of people that know actually how to do it well are diluted and haven't got that knowledge of from the practical effects times and how it's developed. You've just got people that only know how to do CGI, and there is I'm sure, and I can't do it, but I know from my knowledge of it, there is obviously certain tricks of the trade to like make things seem realistic. I think the biggest example is like you look at like Iron Man 1 and stuff and the CGI in that. You look at it now, it looks way better than like Ant-Man Quantumania, but that should make no sense. Like we've come so far that it should be better.
Do you know what I think? I think the best way I can describe it is based on my knowledge of the two. VFX has actually not stopped improving. VFX is the
No.
best it's ever been. CGI and the utilization of it is what's a bit shaky at the minute, and that is giving VFX in general a bad name.
Yes, I would agree. I would say CGI has had huge leaps in technology, but
Oh, absolutely.
the misuse and using it too much as a crutch and then forcing artists to have to cut corners means you don't actually get the peak CGI capabilities because they don't have the time or money to do it. And studios don't care for that. They just want, oh, we'll use CGI because we know it can be fixed with that, but have no concept of how long stuff would take to make it look as good as real.
Yeah. The video effects on top of the CGI model are more important than the quality of the CGI model.
Yeah.
It is that simple. Go on, what you got next for me?
One
Because
that
my
I
next
think,
one's going to legitimately piss people off.
okay, one that I think we both agree with, but I am very much, I don't know, kind of leans into my laid backness.
Okay.
Just because a piece of media is not perfect doesn't mean you can't still enjoy it or think that it's a great show. And on top of that, it's okay to not like something in your taste doesn't give you permission to tell someone they are wrong for liking something.
We have discussed this exact thing before in our private chats.
Mm.
And I'm going to take it to the situation we described it. We were discussing music.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people were calling Drake the GOAT, and that was pissing me off. Because he's like, no, but he's my GOAT. And I'm like, right, but GOAT is like a title of you think it's beyond opinion. You're like, that is the greatest of all time.
Yes.
Instead of saying they're my favourite. Someone says Drake's their favourite rapper, I'm not going to complain. I'm like, cool. That you are absolutely fine for him to be your favourite. Someone says Drake's the GOAT, that's when I'd get a bit annoyed. It's like, well, hold on just a fucking minute. You're now trying to make an opinion a fact. That's where there's a problem. You're completely right. There is very much a difference between I think this is one of the greatest shows of all time and this is one of my favourite shows of all time.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, they can be the same thing. But there are also, I know, dog shit shows that I love. Family Guy is not one of the great shows of all time. It's one of my favourite though.
Look, for like keeping on this week's like Rings of Power, I actually thought season 1 of Rings of Power overall was great. There is plenty of people that were like, this was terrible. And it's like, I'm not saying it was like the greatest of all time. My personal opinion, I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was a great show. Yes, it had its wrong things in places. I can look past that. Doesn't mean those negatives don't make it a terrible show overall. But then you get obviously people are like, oh, I dislike this thing. And I think this is part with like social media has become an issue for media of people think their voice matters too much on social media.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're like, oh, my
Says
opinion's
the guy on
the
podcast.
Yeah. But like that's the thing, like
yeah, no.
People get too on like their high horse of like, no, I didn't like this. You're not allowed to like this.
Yes. Yeah.
Go on,
I think it's one of these things where you've got to let everyone like what they want to like. You do not have to let everyone dislike what. And that doesn't mean you can't dislike something, but stop shouting about things you dislike. It's fucking weird.
Also,
why are you letting your entire life be affected by something you didn't like? Just go and watch the thing you loved again. What are we doing?
As someone who is very laid back, it's a lot more fun if you just enjoy everything and don't hate things. Life's
it's absolutely fine. Like obviously the hot button one at the minute is Acolyte. It's absolutely fine if you didn't like the Acolyte. Yeah. Stop screaming and telling other people they have to hate it. It's boring. It's exhausting. And even if you had valid criticisms, it becomes a lot more difficult to have an honest discussion about them valid criticisms when you're just screaming at people for liking something. It's crazy. Yeah. Now I'm going to scream at people for liking.
I was going to say, right, what's your real hot take here then?
Yeah. MCU Iron Man is a horrible fucking adaptation that's boring as shit. And he only got popular because they stripped away Tony Stark's less desirable personality traits that make him more interesting. So he just became a super rich, cool, smart dude.
I can't disagree with the second half of that.
Tony Stark is a fucking arsehole who no one likes for a reason.
Do you
There
know?
is a reason Iron Man was not
Yeah,
popular before the
yeah,
MCU. And what they've done is they've gone, here is a Tony Stark in the comics is shit, but he's not shitting like a, oh, that's a bad character, shitting of like he's a shit, which makes him a well-rounded character. And what they did to make him more marketable, because they didn't have the licenses for any of their big characters, was they stripped away the shit that people will dislike about the character, so that he just becomes a guy with a really cool bit of technology, who's super rich, who has attractive women throwing themselves at him, and he has no drawbacks. They tried to recover a little bit of that later on, but by that point, RDJ and Tony Stark was so popular that you've still got people defending his actions in Civil War. It is, at its core, a horrible fucking adaptation, and with the way people act about characters now,
yeah.
that Iron Man adaptation would fall flat on its fucking face.
I would agree that, which is like a two-way thing of like people that are annoyed about comic book changes nowadays and get so irate about it. Where were you when the MCU started? Because you weren't shouting and bawling then. But like 100% they like when you look at it as like an actual true to comic adaptation, the MCU Tony Stark is so far from what he actually should be as a character. And like, don't get me wrong, I fully understand why they did it and for marketing, and you could probably argue that yes, it was the right decision because it's led to the MCU. But for like a purist point of view, yeah, it's like the worst adaptation ever. I can see that. I can definitely see some people are going to be upset with you about that.
Oh yeah. I'm ready for people to come at me. Let me be fucking clear. I love the first Iron Man film, and I love the second Iron Man film, and the third one, and everything Iron Man's been in. And like, I clearly adore the MCU, but it is actually a dogshit characterization that's barely even Iron Man. Then my next one's gonna piss off a whole other group of people. It's great.
Well,
Continue.
I have one that's gonna shifting the focus to gaming more.
Okay, cool.
So I think Blizzard would have been or could have been today a award-winning studio had it not been for the monetization of FOMO and the use of microtransactions that has taken over gaming. Blizzard was one of the greatest studios before monetization started ruining their games and they started making so much money that then it became their crutch of their games and the downfall of their studio. I also think, part and part with this, I think Fortnite was the worst thing to happen to gaming.
Ooh.
Both for for devs, for players, and for esports. I think it's ruined a lot of things. And to expand on that before people go, oh, you know, it's ruined things for devs because now there's an expectation on all devs that they have to do live service games and update them every week and be on top of everything, which is not possible unless you own the engine your game is made in, which is what Fortnite had. It's impossible for a normal dev when they don't have the devs of the engine where they can go, oh, this thing doesn't work, can you fix this? And they go, yeah, we fixed the engine, now you can fix your game. It's set unrealistic expectations on devs. It's ruined things for players because it's led into the increased FOMO monetization with battle passes and limited time skins and all of this that Fortnite has done. They also ruined esports because they turned around and were like, oh, we're putting 100 million into esports. And suddenly after that, you got crazy investment that then inflated wages, has inflated prize pools, that has then made it unsustainable for esports orgs, which has then essentially killing esports from the inside out.
Okay, so I think for a large part I agree with you. There are a couple of reasons I disagree though, slightly.
Okay.
Because I also think Fortnite did a fuck ton of good for gaming, and it is very much a balancing act between the good and bad.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't think it's the worst thing to happen. I think if you just look at the good it did, you could argue it was the best thing to happen to gaming. If you just look at the bad, it's the worst thing.
Yeah.
And in reality, I think it ends up being in the middle because it did a lot on both sides. So, first off, I don't think the the speed of the updates and the expectations that's set can actually be blamed on Fortnite. That once again needs to be blamed on the rich CEO fucks and the people who don't make anything but make decisions. I
Yes,
think that's
and
like blaming someone running a world record 100 meters for other people now trying to run faster. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, okay, I get that. That
So like
sort
that,
of
I
shifts
don't
on
think
the
you can blame on.
players.
Yeah, I don't think you can blame Fortnite for that because they were just doing the best
No,
they could do, and it changed expectations. But that wasn't their goal. Their goal was just we're going to do the best we can do.
true.
Um, Monetization, I completely agree. You know my opinions on battle
Mm.
passes. They suck ass. What I am enjoying and what I'm finally glad to see is happening because I like battle passes as a concept.
Mm.
My issue has always been you buy it and if you don't finish it, you've wasted money. I
Yeah,
like what Halo are doing, where you can buy a battle pass and 6 years later, providing the game's still online, but like what the game's been out for 2.5 years now, you can go back if you bought the first battle pass and didn't finish it. You can go back
yeah,
and finish that right now. That I think should be a legal requirement.
yeah. And Helldivers has also done that with their pack.
Helldiver's also done that. X Defiant, I said I was worried about what happens after the season if you don't unlock the guns.
Yeah,
They've said guns at the end of the season will go into the challenges tab.
yeah. I mean,
So that resolves an issue. So all you're missing out on is the cosmetics, which again is better. But I do agree for a large part that the FOMOization with the battle pass system has been for the worst. The rotating item store I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. I think it's just a thing. The
yeah, like microtransactions has it's tough because I think it's also led to game studios feeling like they have to do a live service game now,
yes,
which then they go on. It's set up this monetization model that unfortunately made a lot of money for studios. That now, again, it's not devs necessarily always in the issue here. It's execs above devs that then are like, oh no, you need to do this model on your game because this makes us
yeah.
money.
And for esports, once again, I don't think we can blame Fortnite here because they weren't doing it with ulterior motives. They were kind of going, we want to
No,
support our
but
esports community. And then a bunch of people with a lot of money went, wait, that's a successful business. They're investing in this. I'm going to invest in this too. Once again, it's rich fucks who don't add anything trying to jump in on something that caused the problem. So I don't want to blame Fortnite directly for that.
yes,
Because that wasn't their
no.
goal. I don't think their goal was to
I
cause other
no,
games to get
I don't. I
overinflated.
don't think it was their goal, but I do think with esports they kind of just acted without any thought to the
Yes.
outcome. Because like the main thing with that is that they were like they went from esports was growing, but it was whatever, and then they just went, oh yeah, we're putting 100 million into esports. We don't actually know how we're doing that yet. They just chucked a huge fucking amount of money with like no thought process to like how it would roll on.
Yeah.
And then you had kids like I'm pretty sure I don't know what the player's name is, but there was someone who won that first like open weekend online and never played competitively again because he won like $250,000. And it's
Yeah.
like they just kind of unintentionally inflated everything. And I think that's a bit on them for kind of just being like blah.
Yeah.
But I get
I get
also it's
that.
not directly their
But
issue.
on the flip side of the like categorical good stuff they've done,
Mm.
before them, Xbox and Sony representatives were on the record as saying they would never allow people to play cross-platform. Fortnite literally managed to convince Xbox and PlayStation to go let players play together. That is one of the greatest things
Yeah,
that's ever
no,
happened in
I won't
gaming.
disagree with that. Crossplay
We
becoming the
both grew up in
norm.
an era where you had to talk to your friends with the new console release
Yeah,
to work out what console you were getting if you wanted to play together.
true.
Now, for the majority of games, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I
That
would agree
is
there.
phenomenal. And on the flip side, again, it created issues in other areas, but they also created a lower entry cost for new players with the amount of high quality free to play games that are now available.
Yeah, their
Because
monetizations.
you
Don't get me
never
wrong.
have to spend a penny on Fortnite. You never have to spend a penny on Rocket League. You never
I
have to spend a penny on Fall Guys, and that's three styles of games that are quite different and give you a lot of
I
stuff.
I can agree on the fact that the Battle Pass microtransaction monetary system has led to a easier barrier of entry for a lot of players because it's now allowed game
Yeah.
studios to be like, oh, we're free to play, and then they make their money else other
If
ways.
if you were to ban that FOMOization of
But
it, I think the benefits of the monetary system allowing so many free to
here's
play games would be really good.
here's my thing with that though. That was going on long before Fortnite.
There wasn't as many high quality free to play games.
There wasn't because here's well, my
So,
my brain goes to obviously it was a lot in I think what Fortnite did was it forced it onto consoles because you already had a lot of PC games like League, which were all just cosmetic, and they made right. We know Riot's made plenty of money from
yeah.
League, and that is free to play and just cosmetics. I think I will agree that like Fortnite helped push that onto console.
Yeah.
Fortnite's
Because do you know what the
joined at
biggest?
all of gaming.
Yeah. Do you know what the biggest thing with like their style is? And I have a great example for it. Rainbow Six Siege by Ubisoft was a £40 game at release.
Yeah, I know. I paid it.
X Defiant, which is their newest game, which is a
Yeah.
very similar style, free to play.
Mm.
That's what I mean by it's lowered the floor to entry. Yeah, because they're
Yeah,
trying
no,
to do
yeah.
the exact same thing with X Defiant that they've done with Rainbow Six. That like in their head, these games are going to do the exact same thing. They're going to grow in the same way, and
I
they're
get
going to
you.
support it in the same way. But they've cut off that £40 entry point.
Mm.
But yeah, that's why overall I think Fortnite sits somewhere in the
I
middle.
think it is
It's
mixed.
had a large
I
impact, and
just
some of it good, some of it bad.
yeah.
Right, are we ready for me to anger a whole different side of the internet?
Okay.
This is the side of the internet I will fist fight, so I don't
Ooh.
mind it too much. Comic book shows and films should be loud and camp and gay and woke because that is inherently what comic books are. It's muscular dudes traditionally in tight clothes punching each other. That's pretty fucking gay.
Totally agree.
I scream this every time I get the chance. Yeah, I want
talked about
bright
this so
loud
much,
costumes.
and we're so hopeful that DC does this. But yeah,
Yes.
like the people that complain that why are comic book films being made woke? It's just are you just blind? Like you are clearly someone that didn't read comics or pay attention to what you were reading in comics.
Like, comics are so inherently crazily woke. I just don't understand what you're talking about. And I don't understand how so many people who claim to love comic books misunderstand the point. I know we talk about it a lot about like reading comprehension has never been lower and shit like that. But people continually missing the point. It's crazy. The biggest one most recently has been people going, oh, Deadpool and Wolverine did so well because it wasn't woke.
No.
I'm not sure if you've seen this discussion, but I saw this discussion, then rewatched the scene in question, and I got what people meant. The Honda Odyssey fight scene.
Yeah.
That is a gay sex scene. when you go back and watch it, and the way they kind of interact, very horny.
Oh,
Like they're chuckling a lot. They're like going like that. At one point, Wade is literally with his leg up on the dash like that, and he's like, I can fuck hard," or "You're not fucking hard enough." Is like literally the words that leave his mouth. It's like, yeah, it's not explicit sex, but that is a sex scene.
yeah.
There isn't just hatred in there. There's a little of something else, and obviously they're both piercing each other a lot. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
Deadpool's like to say Deadpool's not woke.
the guy is canonically pansexual.
Yeah,
Like, come on. In the comics, he wants to die so that he can fuck death.
Do you know what I think
Come
it
on.
is? People that obviously don't read it comes back to media literacy, but like with the Deadpool film, he makes jokes about like Disney being woke and stuff in that film, and like he jokes about it through the fourth wall. That people then go, "Oh, this is because like this is because Deadpool's not woke." He's making fun of them, and he's poking fun at himself while also knowingly doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like the flip side of that was people on the other side who are not anti woke were like, oh, why are they making the joke that he's gay in like all the posters that they did It's like, why is gay funny? It's like, no, that's not the point. The point is, it's like an unrequited love. Deadpool wants to fuck Wolverine. Wolverine does not want to fuck Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like that's
That's
the
that whole
joke. It's not.
friendship.
It's not gay is funny. It's Deadpool's unrequited love is funny. It's Beauty and the Beast. They're both ugly, hairy monsters, but Deadpool's going to be Belle because he's in. Like this fundamental misunderstanding constantly drives me up the wall.
It's fair.
So there we go. I've pissed off everyone.
I have one
Go on.
slight one that I'm like, I kind of didn't know how to express it. But I guess in simple terms, it would be, I actually think D&D, it's like, D&D creates better stories than most film and TV nowadays. And D&D DMs or tabletop RPG DMs, I actually think a lot of them are better writers than current, like, in the realm of fantasy, are better fantasy writers than most TV writers.
I completely agree. D&D does create better stories, and it's because it instinctively has the human element. It's what I was talking to you about when I first watched Vox Machina. Yes. I was like, the reason this story is so much more compelling is me, undiagnosed, I'm going to say that at the top, ADHD autistic as fuck, my pattern recognition is off the fucking roof. Therefore, when I'm watching a show similar to something I've seen before, I work out what the twist is going to be. It stops it being exciting, it stops it being different, because guess what? I know the tropes that aren't even tropes yet. I get it. When it's from a D&D campaign, the human element is a lot less predictable, and it's in a safe environment where people can get fucking crazy, which means they try and do dumb shit, which inherently creates a different environment. The only caveat I would have to that is only the very best DMs are better than the professional writers. There is a big, no offense to your DM, no offense to you as a DM, I don't think the story you guys tell is better than what a Hollywood writer is going to write. But I do think the stories that Brennan Lee Mulligan, Matt Mercer,
that's kind of where
and that tier come up with, absolutely it is, because they're working with natural storytellers as well, and this creates a motif that is unbeatable.
There is definitely some random DM in his local with his high school mates, and he is telling the most incredibly written story ever, and no one outside of that group of like 5 people will ever know about it. But yeah, it came from because we watched so much of Brennan and Matt, and I'm like, these stories will be like, if you took, say, like Fantasy High, made that as a TV, like a animated or live action, like TV or film, didn't mention that it was D&D, people would be like, holy shit, this is such a good fucking show. But I feel like if you said it was a D&D, people were like, oh, that weird nerdy tabletop thing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't know how many of them I've ever said on the podcast. I know I've said a lot to you. You know, I have a million fun things I'd love to do if I ever get rich. I would spunk the money so fast because of all these fun ideas. Another fun thing would be literally found an animation studio and just go up buying TV rights for like D20 animated shows, Critical Role. Like, just partner with them. Like, whatever you guys make, we will animate it. We will animate Fantasy High. We will do Never Stop Blowing Up. We will animate it. We will work with you guys. You guys will all get... Everyone who worked on it will get the same credit they got for the tabletop show in our show. And then, obviously, we'll get our credits. And we'll just keep doing it. And then, if at any point we need to, like, start our own streaming platform, we'll just, like, partner up with you to put it on not Dimension 20, on, like, Dropout a week later, and like they want to watch it on Netflix, they can, and everyone who's already got Dropout gets it as well. Like, that would be such a fun thing to do if I had money. Make me a billionaire, world. I will be the only one you like, I promise. Granted, all of the money will be gone in about 6 days because I'll have all this stuff going, but yeah, I maintain it'd be so good. Them stories are so compelling in the most visceral way. Like, Fantasy High as a TV show, then 3 seasons would be phenomenal. So good. And to be fair, it'd probably be more than 3 seasons, because you've got
have to spread it out.
2-hour sessions and normally like 18 episodes a season.
Oh yeah, it's
36 hours. You're probably looking at 2, maybe 3 seasons of TV per season. So you're maybe looking at 9 seasons of an animated show to cover the 3 Fantasy High seasons.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible. But yeah, that's our hot takes this week. Comment down below what the best take was and what the worst take was, and we will do this again in the future. Absolutely, maybe we'll do a drunk one, because I don't think either of us could get drunk enough to say something that gets cancelled. Which is actually a really nice world to live in, by the way.
Yeah.
Knowing that no matter how blackout drunk I get, I'm not going to say something I wouldn't normally say because, you know, I am uncancelable right now.
Pulls up DMs.
Offering to suck your friend's cocks does not get you cancelled. I stand by that.
Sake.
Right, let's get into some nerdy news, for the love
Yes.
of God. Now, I know you had a bit of a mixed reaction to this based on your response to this.
Yeah.
Me sending you this. I am hype as fuck for this. James Spader is apparently back as Ultron for Vision Quest.
Here's my mixed. Fucking love him as Ultron. I love Ultron. I've said this before. Like, Ultron as a villain is one of my favorite villains from the MCU. I think
really, really well put together.
And there's that end speech between, like, monologue moment between him and Vision is fucking incredible. I love it. I'm more like, how the fuck is Ultron back?
Okay, so here's the beauty of it. He's a fucking AI that can connect to the internet. It's so easy to just go, he's been hibernating, he's been hiding.
True. I forgot that he's actually did connect into the internet.
Yeah. He is the infinitely can never actually be killed without a bullshit bringing them back to life character.
True.
Because here's the thing as well. Only like a tiny little bit of his AI needs to survive. And yeah, it will take a while, but he can build himself back up.
You also could say through Vision himself, some part of Ultron, I guess, could come back. Yeah, absolutely. I was just like, at face, like, response, I was just a bit like, Ultron's dead. But now you say it like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I suppose it could just be like lost somewhere.
Robots don't die. Like, it sounds crazy, but robots don't die. Amazon Games CEO Christoph Hartmann says we need more AI in games because we don't really have acting, as the games actors are on strike for fair pay. Fuck him. What the fuck have I just heard?
Do you know what this is? This is exactly the same sort of takes that Bob Iger was giving when the actors were on strike.
And do you know what? We're going to fucking talk about it, because I am, as Horry is well aware of, I'm back on my Cyberpunk obsession at the minute.
Yeah.
I finally got around to finishing the Phantom Liberty DLC. Very, very good. Do you know who was very good in the Phantom Liberty DLC?
Who's that?
Idris Elba, award-winning actor who did all of the motion cap and acting for the DLC. Do you know who's really good in Cyberpunk? Just full stop. Johnny Silverhand, played by Keanu Reeves, who did all the motion capture and voice acting for the DLC, for the full game, and all of the other dozens of actors who recorded stuff for it, and the actors in GTA 5 and Christopher Judge from the God of War series.
Yeah.
There are more phenomenal actors doing the motion cap and the acting in video games than there has ever been. And to say that we need more generative AI to replace them is one of the scummiest things I've ever fucking heard. I can't believe you would ever even consider saying... No, not even consider saying that. Fuck saying it. I can't even believe you think that.
It's because it saves them money. This is the thing. These CEOs have all been sold on AI because they know it's going to save them wages. It saves them money. And to them, they see it as, oh, AI can make stuff faster, so we can print out more of these things, so we can make more money and pay less people. It's never about actually how good is it at doing the craft it's meant to be replicating. It's a case of how much money can it make me or save me.
We need to ban people with a background in business from any art sector. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, that could result in businesses collapsing. No, it won't. Because guess what? If it's just artists trying to do their best, the communities will protect them and help them work through it. But gaming, film, television have all got substantially worse in a lot of ways when people who just view it as a business get involved.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's why people are like, oh, the golden age age of gaming is over. I don't genuinely believe that. I know a lot of people do. I just think we need to start poking people like Christopher Hartman in the eye with a sharp stick, because that is a dog shit take. And also, once again, no one who has a C-suite position deserves their job.
Yeah.
I could have put that in the hot take section, but guess what? It's a nice fucking cold take because it's obvious.
Yeah.
Like, what a just vile comment to make. I wish only bad things for him. This next bit's really cool though.
I saw.
Marvel,
yeah, you sent this to me.
yeah, Marvel Comics
Mm.
is partnering up with, I don't know the brand's name, but the For Dummies people, and they're
Yeah.
releasing a Marvel Comics for Dummies. It's coming February 2025 as part of their celebration of 85 years of Marvel, and it condenses the 85 years of Marvel's comic history into one book.
So the other
That's
week,
fucking awesome.
when we were discussing why aren't comic books doing great, how do people get into comics? Here's your answer. Just read this.
Honest to God, I have a very decent understanding. Like, I'm never going to claim I have an amazing understanding. When I need to know stuff, I go and research it. I make notes. I don't try and pretend I have all this information just locked up here.
Yeah,
I get it when I need it. This might be a cop. I think it's just a cool fucking book to have on a shelf.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just my nerd brain talking. But B, this would be great for just when I need to check something out.
Well, yeah, I think it's great for people that want to get into comics but don't know where to start, or feel like there's so much that they have to catch up on to kind of understand where things are right now. Great for them. Great for the nerds who just want that book on all the
This
comic
is like
history.
a premium collectible, isn't it?
It's like, and then also for kind of the nerds that loved like the MCU and stuff, where a new character might get referenced or prop up, and you're like, I don't know that, and then you can flick through this book and find out the basics of what you need to know about what this character might
so in I don't think it's in here. No, it isn't. In the other room, I have an encyclopedia.
Yeah,
it's Marvel A to Z. It's really out of date now.
Basically,
but like,
all
this is just like, this is the big brother of that. Like, this is fucking awesome. I love it so much. I want it. It's really, really cool. I can imagine this is going to sell pretty well because it's like ultimate collector's item. It's an anniversary thing. And there are going to be people, I hope, who go, maybe this is how I finally get into comic books.
Possibly. Also,
really cool.
I don't think we have it on the news, but with the 85 years, we got a little like trailer video.
We did,
celebrating
which was very cool.
Yeah, showing like Fox Day stuff, all the modern stuff, Daredevil, some of the upcoming stuff. It was cool, and Stan Lee doing like some snippets from old interviews and stuff was very cool.
The big reveal of the week. Gambit survived.
Apparently,
so
the tease that he survived.
So when the film first came out, there were people looking at the end credit scene going, hold on one of them monitors there, you can see Gambit walking away after the fight, so he survived. So it's just that footage that's been released that was playing on the monitor, but obviously you've got it in full colour now and it's not tiny. And at the end of it, you see him turn around and you see the little golden circle of a Doctor Strange portal.
Easily added in VFX.
It's very cool. It's a cool thing. I love Channing Tatum, not just for Gambit. I love Channing Tatum. I think he's a fucking brilliant actor. He should not play Gambit again.
Here's my and I think we've talked about this a bit when we did our Deadpool review. I'm okay with him returning in the same way for like Secret Wars or Battle World, where they pull some of the old Fox characters that we didn't get to see. I'd be okay if he's also included in that. Like, he gets one last proper hurrah. Because in this one, yes, we got to see him finally, but like, it'd be pretty cool to see him do a bit more of a substantial thing. I think if the idea is that he's been pulled into the same place where Wolverine is with Deadpool, and he's living there and kind of in their world, which we know is separate to the MCU, I can be okay with that. And if that means we get to see him like once more, cool. I am also, though, with you when it comes to the MCU mutants, and we get the MCU X-Men, he should not be the Gambit for that.
No, not at all. Like the earliest we're realistically getting the X-Men is going to be late 27, early 28 at like the earliest.
Yeah.
By which point he's 47, 48 years old. He's not sticking around as Gambit for another 10, 15 years. It can't happen. I love him. I'm glad he finally got his chance. He smashed it.
Mm.
It sucks that he still wants to do it because it's not the best thing for the character.
No, and we said it, and I know there's a lot of people that probably disagree and do really want him. But you've got to look at it in the sense of this isn't just him coming back to do an X-Men film once. This is the MCU setting up the X-Men going forward for the length of time probably that we've just had the MCU and Avengers. And it's like, if you pick Channing Tatum, you're then kind of setting an age for all of the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
There's
well,
an
yeah, because
age
Rogue
range.
can't be 20 years old if Gambit's 40 odd.
No. So then that's what people I think are forgetting. Like there is going to be a age range that is picked, and all the X-Men have to fit in that. You can't have like Gambit be older, and then or like Gambit be the same age of Professor X, but then also like you say, Rogue's 20, and that it just gets it just be too messy and doesn't work. And yeah, it's a shame that he didn't get to fully live his Gambit dream. Maybe he can get one more run at it and something, but I don't think he should be the MCU Gambit.
Channing, go and make Jump Street 3. That's what the people want. Go make it happen, please.
He's apparently trying to, but like no studio will take it or something.
He needs to put all his energy into making that happen.
Do you know what I think I'd also be okay with? Is if Ryan Reynolds helps him make a Gambit film set in their current world. Like he's got brought into their world and he gets to do one film that's a Gambit film, and it's like him figuring out what the fuck going on there or something.
Yes, that I'd be okay with. The problem is, and this was something that almost or basically got cut from the hot takes because I couldn't fully flesh out the thought. Comic book fans are getting really weird about a role belonging to an actor.
Yes.
And I don't want him to get too many more runs at it because then people are going to start being like, oh, he's the only one who can play Gambit, and then we never get to see Gambit.
Yeah, that is also like, you can probably get away with one more time where he gets to have a good fun with it. After that, you're starting to mess with what's going
on. We got a new Vox Machina Season 3 trailer.
We did, because it's not too far away now.
October 3rd is the first episode, I believe.
Yes, I think so. Or 29th of September. It's either end of September, beginning of October.
Inject that shit. I need it. It looks so good.
I'm so excited for it. We've talked about it a few times, but yeah, the trailer looks sick. The humor's there. The animation style looks great as always. I know the story's going to be great. I'm just looking forward to how it's adapted and what get to see what bits next.
I've been missing my boys Scanlan and Grog a lot, and I'm very excited to have them back.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited. I'm going to be honest, this next bit made the news because my Cyberpunk obsession is back.
I gathered
Twitter
as much.
Knew. It just means that, like, despite not saying anything on Twitter about it, my Twitter knew, and therefore I got more CD Projekt Red stuff on my feed.
They're always listening.
So CD Projekt Red have released I don't know what it was part of. I assume it was part of an investor call or something. But they basically said what's going on.
Yeah, roadmap sort of thing.
Project Polaris, I think it is, or that might be the one after. The next Witcher game is now getting ready to go into full production mode.
Yes.
Orion is the next biggest project they're currently working on, which is the Cyberpunk sequel, and that is currently deep in the planning stage.
Yes.
I need it. I will play Cyberpunk 2077 until the day that comes out, do not get me wrong. But I need it. I need everything from that universe.
You're going to be
Speaking of which, they have confirmed that they are looking into new animated projects from Night City and that they will be happening. So they did a poll where they gave fans 4 options. One was a trauma team show.
Ooh.
One was another kind of faction-based show. One was an Edge Runners spin-off, and one was something set in Cyberpunk but outside Night City, I believe.
Right. Yeah, because there is other shit going
Um,
on.
yeah. And the fan vote was for a spin-off from Edge Runners, which
Of
I
course.
think realistically that was always going to be, because it's like more of what I know. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm incredibly excited. We were literally, in fact, I'm going to pull up the exact DMs.
Yeah, I
One
mean,
second.
we both love Edge Runners. I can't remember if it was I got you to watch, like, or told you definitely need to watch it, sort of thing.
Yeah,
It
I
was,
think you watched it first, and you were like, "Did you know this was on Netflix?" And I was like, "No, I did not." And you're like, "You're going to want to watch that."
yeah, it's so good. I will say, like, I've said it to friends and stuff. This is probably one of the best single season animated shows ever. The amount of character development they fit in 6 episodes or 8 episodes, whatever it is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
It's an amazing and so well written. I actually don't ever want them to go back to these characters. The story was so well contained
Mm-hmm.
that doing a spin-off I think would be wrong. I
Yeah. I guess it
100%
depends what
want
they
them to
mean by a
return to that.
spin-off.
My worry is if they pick one of the, like, Lucy at the end and do something with her.
Yeah.
I just, like, I don't want them to fuck with that. It was so
Yeah.
good. Don't mess it up by trying to do more of it. If anything, just give us more Night City. It's a huge city. That world is so deep with lore and stories. You can have so much fun in it.
Yeah.
Do that
This
again, but with something new.
Yeah.
It'll be
This is
incredible.
what I was saying to Jenna. The beauty of Night City is it is so much death and murder and chaos that you can literally have basically anything short of a nuke going off, and
Yeah,
it's completely reasonable that people have moved on and forgotten about it later on,
yeah.
and it's not a big deal. Like, that is the beauty of it. But I told Tori, me and Jenna were rewatching it, or I was
Mm.
rewatching it. Jenna was watching it. Um, uh,
I'm pretty sure my response
and
was, "Oh no, the feels" or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Oh, not the feels. I said when Jenna ends up seeing the end, I'll let you know how it goes. Hori, favorite message you've ever sent me. I think she will cry, and that's okay. Can confirm she did cry. Although not until it had all fully ended, which was
It's
really
sunk
funny.
in.
Yeah. And I said, I need 6 movies, 12 TV shows, 60 video games, and a theme park all centered around
Yeah,
Night City. Um, it might be outside of like the obvious ones like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, DC, Marvel, might be the best fictional universe. And I say this as someone who fears this future of like mega corporations controlling everything,
I think that's.
but it's so weird that I crave it. I'm like,
I
I just want to be out there on my tunes, going
I
for gigs.
Here's the thing. I think we get like that because it's like it is somewhat believable, and you're like, well, I can see this actually being the world that we end up in, but I want to experience it. So can it kind of happen now? Because some of this stuff is kind of cool, like robotic limbs. I'm okay
Do you know
with
what I
that.
think it is? I think it's the beauty inside the tragedy that really sells it. Because
Yeah.
yeah, the robot limbs are cool. The buildings are spectacular and massive, but they are deeply depressing. The risk of cyber psychosis,
Yeah.
the dependence on drugs, even if you have a very simple
Oh,
bit of
yeah. It's like,
hardware, like, it is all deeply depressing. But it's such a collective state of depression that it
mhm.
feels more tight knit than real life does. There's a better sense of community in the Night City world because of how bleak it is.
Mm. Do you know what?
And that's beautiful.
I wonder if they do Night City again for the second game.
I think we get Night City plus another city. I think we get 2 cities.
Possibly.
That's what
We
I
know
want.
it's going to be a different time. I'm pretty sure they've said that it won't be like right after the game.
No.
So,
But
but
yeah,
yeah,
very, very cool. I
I've
need it all.
always loved the cyberpunk world. I think, and CD Projekt Red are incredible at building out worlds. So.
I'm gonna say something now in the hope that I never get called out on it, but maybe I will. No matter when that game comes out, even if I've not made content in years, it will be a book the week off and stream every second of it kind of game.
You know, when you're good friends and your brain goes to something morbid and wants to make a joke about it.
Were you to say, what if you're dead?
I was gonna say, well, if for unfortunate reasons you're dead, I'll make sure to do a stream with you in.
Yeah.
just,
Just,
put,
just, just
you'll be
ask Jenna
there.
to borrow my ashes when you just play it on my channel. Yeah. Good. Sounds good. I can live with that.
Okay, good.
Right. Next up, really cool, Fantastic Four set leaks. We got to see the Thing.
We did.
Pre VFX.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, like, I always worry that I'm gonna sound like I'm ragging on you when I say stuff like this. You are not familiar with the Thing in the comics that well, so you don't have much of a frame of reference other than the versions of the Thing we've seen on the big screen. So when you went, oh, I've just had a look at him in comics, that looks really close.
So
I was like, yeah.
I had, like, when I saw it, I was like, I feel like I've definitely seen comic panels and the Thing in comic form, and it was like I saw it and I was like, my brain's telling me that is the comic, but I'm not 100% sure. So then when I looked, I was like, oh, that is definitely the comic.
Yeah.
It just, something about it immediately, my brain was like, oh, you've seen this before. This is just now in live action.
Yeah. It's the use of like the really big kind of eyebrow.
Yes.
It's really
100% the eyebrow and the face shape.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're
really,
learning
really
a bit
cool
from like the Deadpool films, because they've been so successful in having them in practical suits, and like Deadpool's is they do the VFX on the eyes. They're going to try and bring some of that method to how they're going to do the Thing.
Yeah, because that's what they do. That's what they do. Don't they get Ryan Reynolds to like re-record the lines, even though they use the audio from him behind the mask, which is crazy. To capture what his face looks like delivering the lines, so they can then like use like the masking tool to like get it right, and that's why it sells so well. Deadpool is a masterpiece, not because of doing anything particularly special, but purely because it proved once and for all you can have a superhero film where the actor does not have to take their mask off every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
The only other person I've seen act that well with a mask on is Andrew Garfield. And you know how I feel about Andrew Garfield. He's one of the greatest actors of our generation. I will die on that fucking hill.
Yeah.
So yeah, Fantastic Four. You know how excited I am for this. The color scheme looks amazing. The vibe looks immaculate. The cast suit each other, which is actually all that matters. And now I see this Fantastic Four costume, and I'm like,
do you know what I'm now picturing? Cousin under that mask. Like, he was there in that, and I'm like, now I'm thinking like, God, well, that's quite a visual.
Remedy Games investor announcement has shown that the game's Control and Alan Wake are being shopped around to potentially be brought to film and or TV. This is kind of what I want to see. Well, no, because this is what I'm talking about. Borderlands, I think the mistake Borderlands made was they went big brand, not too much storytelling potential.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is smaller brands, but very much story potential.
True.
Like, these are cool. Alan Wake is like a kind of creepy horror TV show. That's
good. Alan Wake is a good show for that.
I don't know too much about Control, other than I've installed it and uninstalled it about 6 times when I convince myself I'm going to play a story game, and I'm like, that looks really good, I want to play that, I install it, and then 6 months later, when I've been distracted by the latest got ya game, I then uninstall it because I need it for something else.
Fair.
Amandala Stenberg, who plays May and Osha, says she wasn't surprised about the Acolyte being cancelled, as the hatred was so intense, even from when the cast was revealed, she kind of had a feeling it would happen. What a sad, vile society we live in when someone isn't shocked that their show got cancelled because of the amount of racist, homophobic, sexist abuse they were receiving from the announcement of the show.
We've talked so much about this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, to the people that are like, oh, it only got cancelled because it had bad viewership. sure, that was probably part of it, and they claim that that's why. But when you get stuff like this, quite clearly, everyone's hatred of it, like,
Well, so here's the thing. I'm okay with believing that it got cancelled because of low viewership. That's absolutely fine. What I'm not going to do is sit here and act like a bunch of people review bombing it in a choreographed way and shitting on it every day on Twitter doesn't cause fewer people to give it a chance.
yeah.
People who would then like the show.
Oh yeah, it's like that. Those actions cause less people to view it.
Yes. Like it's all well and good going. Oh, the racists, the racists going. Oh, well, we didn't get cancelled. No one wanted to watch that shit. And it's like, no, you guys review bombing sometimes the wrong projects because you're that
Yeah.
thick, and also just spewing your hatred about it all day, every day, causes them that. You've got to remember, there's a bubble of people who will watch anything Star Wars and probably love it. There's a bubble of people who watch everything Star Wars and probably hate it. Then you've got a group in the middle who will give Star Wars a chance if it seems good. And they will look at stuff like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb and Letterboxd and all of that, and they'll look at the sentiment on Twitter, and then they'll decide whether they're going to give it a shot. When you're review bombing it before the episodes even actually come out, and talking shit about it on Twitter and claiming it's the worst thing ever, some of them people are going to go, oh, okay, maybe I won't watch it then. And that's not their fault.
No, but yeah.
And that's my bigger issue here. I'm not debating whether it had low enough viewership to be cancelled. I'm debating the notion that low viewership wasn't caused by the vile behaviour.
Yeah, it's...
Or
it's
at least
such a
partially. Next up. Every word in this sentence makes me happy. Edgar Wright is doing a Running Man remake starring Glenn Powell. So Running Man is the 1980s, 1990s action film with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where it's the game show that's really violent.
Yeah.
So here, let me talk about it. Edgar Wright, obviously one of my favourite directors. I love him. Glenn Powell, I don't know if I've discussed this on the podcast, and it's going to sound like I'm just jumping on a bandwagon right now. Jenna can confirm I said this about 6 months ago. A Hollywood executive in the week said Glenn Powell might have some of the biggest star power in the world right now. People are going to the cinema to see Glenn Powell. They don't care what the film is.
Okay.
And that's why Glenn Powell can do like The Hitman for Netflix and Twisters and like such a wide genre of films because he's got star power. And I said to Jenna, about 6 months ago, people keep on trying to say that superstar actors are dead, and like Tom Cruise is going to be the last one ever. We're never going to have another one. And I said to her, I was like, Glenn Powell is going to be that dude because he's doing anything that seems fun to him. He's not getting stuck in a genre. He's not getting typecast. He will be an action hero. He will be a goofy rom-com lead. He'll be a goofy comedy lead. This dude just loves to make films, and he'll say yes to anything that speaks to him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. So Hollywood execs have now caught up to where I was 6 months ago. Cool. Nice to know. This film, everything... A Running Man remake is one of few films from the 80s I'm kind of down for. That along with, like, Demolition Man.
God, yeah. That's a...
Glenn Powell has got the star power to make this fun.
Yeah.
And Edgar Wright's artistic style...
Yeah.
This is a winner.
Potentially.
It's a winner. No, absolute certified W. Triple plat right now. I want it. That I saw this tweet and nothing has ever made me so happy. I'm like, this is something I didn't know I needed, but now I can't wait another 5 minutes. Already booked my tickets for it. Doesn't even have a release date yet. It's crazy. And also just brilliant news for the people who love life. Ted Lasso season 4 is happening.
So I saw this and I was like, I haven't watched Ted Lasso. I've seen plenty of clips of Ted Lasso. I wasn't sure if like this was a good thing or not because I didn't know if season 3 had ended in like a pretty good way, or if people wanted more or not.
People absolutely want more. It did end in a satisfactory way.
Okay.
But there were things that were left unresolved that people want resolved.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But they did it in kind of like the traditional storytelling way of, we're going to leave this unresolved, so whatever you want to happen, you can decide in your head is the thing that happened. And people are like, no, I need you to explicitly tell me that the thing we all want to happen happened. I know you're not a football fan.
No.
you will still adore Ted Lasso.
The clips I've seen of it, it looks really good, and it's just one of them shows that's like at some point I might get to.
It is genuinely so good. Put it this way: me and Jenna started watching it before she got into football. I genuinely think it's a big part of the driving force that got her to give football a chance. And we only watched it because we had a free trial of Apple TV after one of us bought our new phones. And I was like, oh, Ted Lasso's on there. We should give that a go. I've heard good things. Hooked. We binged all 3 seasons so quickly. And then she was like, oh, we don't have Apple TV anymore. I was like, we'll just have to wait for it all to come out and then buy a month of Apple TV and binge it for that month. And she's like, that is absolutely what we'll have to do. It is some of the best unique TV out there right now. And the fact we're getting a full season's amazing. I adore Hannah Waddington. I adore Jason Sudeikis. That cast is just, I'm so, like, I've never been so excited at a show getting renewed for another season before. Especially like out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, it's happening. Really, really fucking excited. I cannot wait. But that is all we've got for this week. What a banging episode.
Packed episode.
Yeah. Make sure you go like, make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you in a bit.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.